Yes, y'all. A little bit late. I apologize. It's Saturday night, therefore, it's Saturday night Shoot the Breeze. So I want to thank everyone who was in attendance last week, who aided in all those lovely discussions. I want to thank everyone who will be in attendance this week, both on the panel and in the chat. Shout out to our brother Anthony McPhail, who's out there in the chat, who's saying peace and blessings to all the KwaZulu Natal Radio. I think he means KWAZ Radio family and the chat. Shout out to you, Anthony. I'm glad to see that you've recovered from your illness that we found out about earlier in the week. With that said, you know me, I like to start the show a little early in terms of letting you guys know what we have in store tonight. Tonight, we're going to talk about African Stream again, how the founder is going to explain how pan-European corporate media banned him. We're going to talk about a Rasta woman and how she found her feminist voice. I don't know. Let's see how that goes. We're going to talk about someone who started an agricultural school in their community to teach Black kids agriculture. We're going to talk about how to start small, literally. We'll talk about the first Black-owned micro community. And we're going to have that discussion again about Black content creator spaces and why we don't have more certain content put out there. You guys are all welcome to join. You guys are all welcome to join the panel tonight. The link is at the top of the chat, pinned there. Shout out to Daily Affirmations by Pauline saying good evening. So what I'll do now is start the show officially. And on the other side, I will drop Shoot the Breeze topic number 1, introduce any and all of our panelists. In the meantime, you guys do me a favor, hit the like button, click the link and share it to your social media, email a couple of friends, invite someone. Invite one person tonight to come and join the discussion. They don't have to come on the panel. Just join the discussion. So you guys, in the meantime, do stay tuned.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about Black empowerment. Our show focuses on Black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Koku. Just want to remind you guys before we get the show rolling that this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio. There are other shows on the network you are invited to tune into.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the Pro-Black Perspective, where Black problems are addressed with Black solutions.
Greetings, fam. Tune in to The Learning Curve with me, the Revolutionary Matron on KWAZ Radio.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Make sure you guys are also tuned in the Brother Bakari podcast, the Forecast Radio, Realm in the Bush, and Kofi the Black Critic. Make sure you guys all tuned in to all of those shows on KWAZ Radio. In the chat, the matron is out there saying greetings, everyone. Anthony McPhail says he's looking to invite his sister-in-law tonight. That'll be great. We welcome any and all ladies. All ladies are welcome to join the panel. Speaking of panel, so far I have one panelist tonight, and that's Oni from the Pro-Black Perspective. Oni, how are you this week?
I'm cool. Peace, man. Got married, so I'm pretty hype. That's it.
Yeah, I saw that. I was gonna say it too, but I was like, you know what? Let me wait and see if he wants to share that or not. So congrats to you, man. I saw that. You didn't wear a tux. Tux is for cucks, like you said. So I appreciate that. Congrats to you. Congrats to you and your new wife, man. Much appreciated. With that said, let's welcome in our brother Buana this week. Buana, how are you?
Koku, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's good to speak to everyone again. Koku, I'm probably gonna have to be right back. But I'm gonna stay on. Only congratulations, brother. You know, I know you'll be a great husband because you're a great dad. So just do your thing in Tanzania and just get that money. You know, I'll leave it there. I'll be right back, Koku.
All right. Appreciate that, Buana. And as always, thanks to you two for coming through. Like I said, any and anyone who wants to join the panel, any African who wants to join the panel, just click the link at the top of the chat, and you too can be on the panel, giving your viewpoints on these discussions. Tonight we have a hodgepodge of discussions. I decided to just mix it up as opposed to it being kind of like themed or something like that. So let's go to Shooter Breeze topic number one. Shooter Breeze topic number one says African Stream founder explains how pan-European corporate media banned him. This came, of course, with a link. Let me share my screen with you guys. So here we are. So Ahmed Kabalo is the founder of African Stream. He's talking to Shakara. I reached out to African Stream, didn't hear nothing from him, so it is what it is. What we'll do is we'll watch the video and then we'll discuss it.
But we know that when you step out and when you expose imperialism, there is a price to pay. And I think, you know, it's clearly politically motivated. It happened just before the US elections are about to take place.
Of course.
We were already getting attacks by a lot of people in the US that said that we were hurting Kamala Harris's campaign. now, what's crazy about that is we've cussed out Donald Trump more than we've cussed out Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
It's about even, but slightly more. Yeah. But they don't care about when we cuss out Trump.
Yeah.
Because of the relationship with, we call them Africans in America and the Democratic Party, our coverage was seen to be more hurtful. I guess the opinion is that no one that's voting for Trump is probably following us anyway.
Yes,
but there are a lot of people that were voting for Kamala.
Yes.
So the first few, before we had the situation where we got attacked by the Secretary of State, there was a few smear pieces that came out, really poorly written smear pieces.
Yeah.
So the first one was by NBC.
Yeah, we covered that a couple of weeks ago. Just to let people know about that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but
brilliant,
you know, like,
brilliant response, by the way. Brilliant response.
Thank you. But they said that we're spreading fake news to 40 million African Americans without a single example. And they cited a report, and in the report, the only thing that's public available is the summary of the report. And in the summary of the report, we're not even mentioned. Yeah. And then in the summary of the report, it says, email us if you want the full report. I emailed them months ago. No reports come.
No reports come.
No reports come. So they can smear you based on a report that you're allegedly named in, but the thing that's online doesn't even have your name. Yeah. And then if you try to email them, no report comes. That was the first one. Yeah. And then the second one was we said, irrespective of who gets elected into the White House, US presidents are going to continue bombing Somalia. And we named how many drone strikes each US president from George Bush all the way to Biden. Factual, indisputable. Then Voice of America, which is US state funded, they put out a piece saying African Stream distorts US's role in. So obviously we responded to that, destroyed them. So they couldn't attack us for our reporting. So then they went with this. And as soon as Anthony Blinken said this, even though he didn't provide a single example, all of a sudden, this week, I think from Monday, a Wikipedia page is now up of African Stream. African Stream is a source of disinformation ran by all based on one person's
statement. Yeah.
One person's speech where it doesn't even have
anything. Yeah.
And it says I knew the game was rigged, but I had no idea that it was rigged.
That serious. Yeah, that's mad.
It's
Bro,
not.
I didn't know. So this is breaking, Just for those who are just tuning in, right? Brother Ahmed has informed us that not only have they locked off the YouTube, the Instagram, the Facebook, and the TikTok. I'm going to come back to TikTok in a second because that's an interesting one. They've also locked off the entire Google account. So that means that African Stream no longer has access to its cloud storage facility. Yeah. So they have actually curtailed, like, that's mad. So do you have, and by the way, this is a good because I usually use physical hard drive to
man.
Things,
so,
and I get it because I'm seeing the convenience more and more of having the cloud storage, but for situations like this, anyway, I won't even ask you if you got the hard drive backup in case.
No. It's a good question. We've got less than half of it backed up. Yeah, less than. But more worryingly, we had like some long projects that we were working on.
Gone.
Everything's gone. The transcriptions. We sent a sister to Mali to do a long documentary on Modiba Keita because he's not well known not well known in the Pan-African circles as he should be. And she went there to get some exclusive interviews. I think she interviewed some relatives. The whole thing is gone. The whole thing is gone. Yeah. I know.
So this is serious.
Yeah, that sucks. There's some cautionary tales involved in this for all of us too, by the way. You can't put all your eggs in this white man's basket, so to speak. Even myself with Shoot the Breeze, I've been working to get it off of YouTube because I know one day it's coming for me too. So it's a thing that by the way, Anthony is saying that your mic and cam are not added, so step out and come back on for me, please. I posted it in the chat. Maybe you didn't see it. So this brother saying that they was working on the Keita documentary, and that's gone. That's lost. That's a damn shame. But that's a cautionary tale that you can't keep all this stuff in digital too. You have to have some physical copies of stuff to hold on to. In the chat, Trigabi262 kind of echoes what I just said. He says it was sad when they lost that Keita documentary. Keita was a great man, absolutely. Provide Triggers for Evolution is back with us this week, saying greetings to all. So greetings to you too, sister. Thanks for coming through. With that said, I told Anthony, come back again. Try to come back again because your sound is not connected. Again, should read number 1. African Stream Founder explains how pan-European corporate media banned him. I guess I'll have to start with Oni because I don't know if Buana's back or not. But Oni, what say you?
Yeah, like you said, it's a cautionary tale, and just a reminder that these one thing is this: these white boys ain't playing. These white boys are not playing. But two, what these white boys are capable of and how they roll. You know, hardly anybody saw this coming. I would say that. You know, but moreover, I think, and this is really important. You know, I can't remember who said the quote. I think I quoted it on Twitter recently, but brother says, one of our ancestors said something like, "If the enemy is not doing anything against you, it's because you're not doing anything." And Africa's Stream was doing something, and this white boy shut them down. And it's just a big reminder that a lot of because one thing that we're going to see, especially on KWAZ radio, is how a lot of us are blacklisted. A lot of times we can't get the numbers up for whatever reason. We can appear in the algorithm. I'm not saying that we can't, but it's a little bit harder than most people, right? And I mean, of course, some of it is regarding advertising, so on and so forth, but also not regarding advertising. In the sense of, I remember I was on, I think it was Amazon had like a program where you could make digital art, make digital art, and I guess like make posters and all that kind of stuff. Like it's a program, whatever. So I applied for it, and I got rejected. But it's just a big reminder that you're on another person's platform, and they can do whatever they want, and they can push whatever agenda they have for your people. And you just got to go along with it. The only platform that didn't censor Africa Stream, it seems like it's X or Twitter or whatever, but Twitter has its own thing going for it. A lot of people didn't pick up on it, but after Elon Musk purchased it, you're getting a lot more conservative, Republican, far right, fascist material. You're getting a lot more of that in your face, and you can't get around it. And I mean, I don't know if you can block. I mean, I hear some people block Elon Musk, but I hear there's some penalties for that. But of course, on that platform too, a lot of black people are being blacklisted, notwithstanding. So again, it's and I think that the main thing that I want to take away here too is that Google, which pretends to be this neutral body or what have you, right? Google removed their access to their private accounts, remove their cloud storage. Like these white people, it's kind of like that Boondocks episode or that joke, in black communities where, these white boys just give you allowance. They allow you to use their their email services. They allow you to go on their video platforms. They allow you to get electricity in your house and clean water. And when they stop doing that, when you push against them, they're going to push back hard and strong. So you got to be ready. And I think that's one of the reasons why, I really appreciate this repatriation, because I don't get allowance from white folk. You know what I mean? I don't get allowance from white folk. Now, I'm not going to say that everything is perfect. No, I mean, I got, real struggles, where black folk kind of giving me allowance. You know what I'm saying? But it's a whole different ball game. It's a whole different ball game because, I mean, of course, again, if I'm pushing on the government here, I might run into some problems, obviously, but not even doing that. So it is what it is. My point is, yeah, I think we as a people, we have to see that this whole allowance thing, and the biggest part about it is this: these guys are not even African Americans. They are. This guy, I don't know in particular, but I know the founder of this website was or this platform was Kenyan, right? So these guys are not even African American. So on one hand, it says, well, what kind of legal protection would they have? But on the other hand, it's like, it shows that, if you're in Kenya, right, build up the stuff in Kenya. Build up the stuff, because America's not going to allow you to reach into America, let alone Black America. Right? America's not going to allow you to reach into America, let alone Black America. And again, it goes back to this allowance thing. If you're talking about, oh my gosh, Black Americans are so stupid, or Black Americans this, or Black Americans that, or I love Black American butts, or whatever. If you're talking that, you're allowed. And if you're talking, hey, look, let's discuss geopolitics. Let's discuss the wars. Let's discuss the situation, whatever. Then you don't get that. And that is, I think, a really fundamental distinction that we have to look into.
Appreciate that, Oni. I agree with everything you just said. And I can personally tell you, yesterday, I think it was, I was on Twitter, and I'm noticing that I'm getting a lot of far right, conservative type stuff. I'm getting a lot of the FBA stuff. Like, I'm getting FBA stuff all day, and it's like, wait a minute, I don't even follow these people. These people don't follow me. Why am I seeing this all the time? But it's a part of the algorithm that Musk and them are pushing. But yeah, everything you said is absolutely correct. I think you gotta build in a Black country, man. You just can't get around it now. You just cannot get around it. These guys have too much reach. And as a side note, too, we've allowed these guys to get too far ahead, too. And when I say allow, I'm putting that in quotations, but we got to try to start closing this gap a bit. These guys have too much reach, and we got to start closing the gap. Anyway, let me welcome in our brother Black Steel this week. Black Steel, how are you?
I'm doing great, Cuckoo. How about yourself?
I'm good. Thanks for coming through.
So, I don't know if anybody missed the point of this. You said, and Oni said, you have to build in a Black country. But then you guys understand that Africa Stream is based in a Black country, which is Kenya. So
yeah, but they're on white platforms, though, Black Steel.
So what do you mean?
They're using Google. That's not their own. They're using the internet that this guy put up. That's not the, you know what I mean? That's more the point I was trying to make.
Okay. But I think that the overall point is that we live in a world that is dominated by white hegemony, right? And I'm sorry to say there's no place you can escape it. Whether you go to the bush of Africa, you go to outer space, that there's no running away from it. We're going to have to confront it. We're going to have to organize and fight it. I think that, and everybody wants to repatriate. I think that's a personal decision, and I support that. But it's not a solution to our overall problem, which is the fact that the Europeans dominate the globe. Their words, their thoughts, their views on things are taken as fact. So the Secretary of State of the United States, Anthony Blinken, he just said, yeah, this is Kremlin propaganda with no evidence. No evidence. And then all of a sudden everything is banned. White people can say day is night, and a lot of people will believe them. And I think they saw Africa Stream as a threat because they were so vocal against imperialism, against racism, against the system that dominates the globe. And they were doing something like Oni was saying, if your enemy isn't moving against you, you're not doing anything. So apparently they were doing something. I often, Africa Stream, one of my favorite YouTube channels. I love them. And it's disappointing the fact that they are being taken off. But I don't think it's a matter so much of Black people not wanting to have their own things. I think that we really, again, to my point, we see how the power of the European dominates the world. If they're able to cut off your power, they're able to cut off your access to clean food and clean water, they are able to do that. And I think this really kind of underscores our predicament, how dire our situation is. I think as Bobby E. Wright said, he said something about slavery is when group of people control all the institutions that sustain your life. And I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing again that all of our life-sustaining institutions are under the dominance of another people. It doesn't have to be this way, but I think that we really underestimate just how much control they have. Like, who had, for example, you talk about starting, an African Google or African Amazon or whatever, but these entities, these Googles and these other platforms, YouTube, were all created with money, not just from investors, but from the CIA, from government funded, from state funded by the United States government. Africans going to have to get organized. I think that we're trying to skip a few steps. Maybe we need to get organized first. Maybe we're going to have to come up with a plan. It's good to say these things, and I agree it's good to say these things, but how are we organizing? And I think that organization is lost in our communities, in our countries, and that our leaders aren't focused on changing the system. They're focused on getting this money, as much money as they possibly can, and looting the bank. Well, you have African leaders who have to go to Europe because they don't have the hospitals in their countries for the procedures, while they loot the country blind. So to me, it's something that needs to be handled. But I lament, and I'm saddened by the fact that LiveStream is under attack. But it's under attack for a good reason, which is because they're actually telling the truth. I still follow them on X, and I try to follow them on. Are they off of TikTok? I don't know if they're off of TikTok, because I think I follow them on TikTok as well. But
Yeah, they're on TikTok.
Okay, so I still follow on TikTok. But look what happened with TikTok. TikTok is trying to be banned by the U.S. government too, because they weren't parroting the State Department's point of view. So, but China is taking them to court for what they're doing, because they feel like they're trying to infringe on their freedom of speech, and they're trying to force them to sell TikTok to investors who, for whatever reason, feel as though they'd be more favorable. Never mind that TikTok put so many of the atrocities on display that were going on in Sudan, in Ghana, not Ghana, in the Sudan, in Palestine, and all over the world. They put them on display to where you can't hide anymore. Your narrative of what you're doing to the world is not going to be acceptable anymore. So yeah, I think really organizing and really coming up with a consistent plan. I don't think it's a matter of we don't want to. I think we underestimate our enemy, which is always a fatal error. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
I appreciate you for that, Black Steel. Yeah, I agree. I think we are underestimating, but the problem I'm having is that how long are we going to keep underestimating these people? You know what I mean? If I'm not mistaken, doesn't China, for example, have their own social media platform? I think TikTok is one of their platforms, right? Like they have their own social media.
It is. But China has a lot more wealth, a lot more organization. Blame the communists, I guess.
I think that's the key. The key is we just got to get organized around these thoughts. We have to look at these things and get to a drawing table somewhere and start organizing our thoughts. How do we get around this? And also we got to be forward thinking too. We got to start thinking ahead. What could they do? Like I said one time on the show before, in the Caribbean, if these people decide not to send them ships, all them folks who down there sitting down waiting for tourists to come is screwed. You better go find something else, right, to drive your economy. You better go find that now, right, as opposed to just waiting on if a ship arrives or not. So we gotta be a little bit more forward thinking. I think in the chat, the matron says they block anything that impacts the consciousness of Africans. Pan-Europeanism is the order of the day. They can take away anything they give you. Trigger Happy had a lot to say, but he says here, Black Steel, apparently the the owner of African Stream, mentioned that TikTok is based in Scandinavia, as well as, it's based in Scandinavia as well. So that may be a reason. Again, that's what he said. He said, and then Trigger says China is a state, African Stream, organization at best. Yeah, we understand China is a state. We understand that. That's not the comparison, really. The comparison is, where is our state with power? Where is our state that's been organized to thwart this kind of thing? That's what the conversation really is about. It's not comparing African Stream to China. With that said, let's welcome our boy Anthony McPhail in this week. Anthony, how are you?
Hey, what's going on, my brother? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Can you hear me pretty good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. All right. I want to say this, man. I'm gonna come at this angle right here. It is not against what anybody said, but okay. Let's start with African Stream. Okay, with them brothers there, and I listen at them and all of the great content that they putting out. But okay, but like it's already been mentioned by both of the brothers, by all your brothers. Okay, you broadcasting on their airways. Right now, we on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? This ain't shit. But what I'm saying is this right here. Okay, like we got a brother, we got Dr. Obadale Kambone. He got his own thing. You know, a BB Toomey. And you can say, well, that's it's his independent thing, it's more decentralized, but it's still, you got to go online. I think that we forgetting one of the most important things. Okay, right now, Koku, I got your phone number. You know what I'm saying? One of your phone numbers. I could call you. I did one time, but you didn't get a chance to talk to me. I could call you on the phone, and we could talk about stuff. But besides that, guess what? What we can also do, I'm talking about for us, the black brothers here who live stateside here in America. We ain't got to get on the phone. We ain't got to get on YouTube. We ain't got to get on the internet. You know what we could do to talk about our issues? We could meet. We can all get together and meet. Hey, man, let's meet in New York City. Let's meet in Virginia. Let's meet in wherever we are, whatever convenient. I live in Louisiana. Okay, I got family in Georgia. I go to Georgia sometime and I stay there. I could go up to Virginia where Forecast at. I could, that ain't that far. I could drive 250 miles and I can go up to New York City. We can have a meeting. We need to have a meeting there between us and talk face to face. With our brothers like Pan African Stream, excuse me, I'm still suffering this flu flashback. Okay, what our brothers on the continent can do? Okay, you live in Kenya. Let's have y'all brothers have a Pan-African meeting in Kenya. You know what I'm saying? Or y'all brothers have a Pan-African meeting in Addis Ababa. Or y'all have a Pan-African meeting in Ouagadougou. You know what I'm saying? Or in Bamako. Wherever. Y'all come together over there and have a meeting and discuss your business. Because we really don't need to be putting our business out over there anyway. No letting them know everything we talking about. Excuse me. Even I know, like I said, they doing great content and they try to inform all our people. But we all black people, we always been the people that found another way around the corner to do what we had to do. Okay, the mainstream shut us out. The white folks, these Europeans don't want to let us use their shit. What we did? We snuck in the back door, or we went another way. Our people on the continent could talk among themselves, meet at a designated area, and talk among themselves to get that message out. And you know what? Okay, let's send somebody over here to the UK and talk to Brother Shakara. Let's send somebody over here to the US and talk to Brother Koku. You know what I'm saying? Let's send some brother over here in other parts of the black world, the diaspora, and talk about this. And we doing it clandestine. We talking among ourselves. We ain't got to let the whole damn world know what we doing. You know what I'm saying? I'm not arguing at nobody, but I'm just saying it's another way beside that. We don't have to depend on these media outlets that they have. They shit. We need to meet. I ain't never seen Koku. I ain't never seen Black Steel. I ain't never seen Buana. I ain't never seen Pro Black Perspective. You know what I'm saying? I ain't never seen a real black gentleman. One day we got to meet. We got to all meet up and we need to talk. And we just sit down and discuss stuff. Whether y'all gonna come down here because y'all all invited here. I got a nice house. Or we gonna go to KWAZ, or we gonna go to Black Steel, or we just gonna find us a place, a hotel, whatever, put our money together and go and meet and talk and discuss our stuff. We ain't gotta discuss our stuff in front of the world. YouTube ain't got to hear our shit. We can talk about what we gotta talk about together. You know what I'm saying? And our brothers in the Caribbean, and in Central and South America, and Africa, all get together and talk about their stuff together. And you know what? And we can all get a designated meeting place where we can all go and talk and discuss it, whatever, when we got to do our global plan. We ain't got to be on social media. I mean, there's always another way to skin a cat. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, these airways, colonize, it's they shit. I mean, if I'm the American government, I'm any colonial imperial government, I'm going to do the same damn thing. I ain't going to let you get your shit across. You know what I'm saying? We got to think outside of that. We got to say, hey, look here. Hey, we can't, matter of fact, we don't want to be dry snitching on our goddamn self anyway. You know what I'm saying? We need to come together. See, that's the bottom line. We got to stop talking to each other on the phone and on the internet, and we need to meet face to face. I'm always reminded, I know Black Steel probably remember this. It's a picture, it's a photo. This was from 1970. It was after Huey P. Newton there when they was in Algiers. Him and some of that part of the Black Panther Party was in Algiers. They had a big meeting in Tanzania, Dar es Salaam. Look here, they had Brother Imari Obadele of the Republic of New Africa. They had Robert F. Williams. They had David Sabeko of the PAC. They had a whole bunch of black nationalists. Some from the PAIGC and Guinea-Bissau, all of them. You know what they did? They all met in Dar es Salaam. There was a whole bunch of them. That's about African brothers from America, African brothers from the Caribbean, you know, members of the New Jewel movement, all over the hemisphere. Paulo Camerica Fegu from Bermuda, the Black Beret Cadre. They had all these brothers from the UK, the Black Liberation Front, Black United Front. What they did, they got together. They said they had a clandestine meeting, and they met. It was after the six-pack conference. It was a little bit before that, but they met together, and it was all these brothers from all over the black world met. That's what we get. That's how going back and knowing what we did before and using that. Koku, I want to see you. I want to see Juan. You know what I'm saying? I want to see Oni. I want to see Black Steel. We need to meet together. I want to see Forecast, Bakari, and Revolutionary Matron. We need to come together, sit down, and talk face to face. Family. That's what we need to do. And I'll leave it there right there.
No disagreements with anything you said there, Anthony. I appreciate that. No disagreements at all. I think there's two things. I personally think two things can be true at the same time. I think when we're talking about strategy, that's definitely a closed door discussion. If we strategizing, I have my part to play. Buana has his. Black Seal has his. That's a closed door conversation. We have an understanding of what parts we got to do, and then we go out into the world and we do it. But I think in the case of African streams, in the case of us too, there's an attempt at kind of countering the propaganda that's out there. And while you can do that, and you should do that in your behind closed doors, there is a part of it that has to be done by, for the masses, so to speak. You have to put out something on a mass level. And so I think what Anthony is saying is true. And that's something we should work on too, as a matter of fact. I know this brother Shaka Zulu always talks about that on Brother Bakari's show. So shout out to Shaka. That's something that we should do. We should be meeting up in person. But we also have to push propaganda too. Positive propaganda, against what's being pushed against us, right? With that said, let me see if Buana's back now. Buana, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What are your
No,
thoughts?
yeah. So in concern to what Anthony just said, I already didn't have that in the works. My thing is, to invite all your brothers here. That means y'all can meet my backyard. We can make barbecue and all that shit. Like, but I'm not driving y'all all around the Bahamas. So I'll have to leave that with Koku. Koku have to work with the transportation because I'm not taking y'all. No, I'm not doing that. Y'all have a nice meal. We can have barbecue and shit like that. I'm not taking. And needless to say, we do need to meet, and it'll be good. I really had plans on seeing if I could to touch bases with Brother Kari in Atlanta, and if I'm in Atlanta in the South, that means I could easily go to Louisiana. That's no sweat. These kinds of things, but these are individual things, and I think that Anthony is talking as a group, and that is a necessary thing, and that's something that collectively we must work on. No doubt about it. You have to get past the point of having these kinds of dialogues and discussions. But since we're on the show, let's talk about the issues. So, in reference to what these brothers are talking about, I would say that first of all, one of the things that we need to be aware of is we talk about financial literacy, but there's a technological literacy that we need to really catch up with in the world, especially when we want to be in an information game of sharing information and using these technical devices to educate our people. There's a man named Julian Assange. Julian Assange was a huge threat against the state because he decided to tell the regular, not only American public, but the Western public about the deeds of what was going on in the Middle East, in particular with the American military, and what it was actually doing over there. And and there was a big issue and hoo-ha over him being sent to jail, and the whole idea of freedom of speech and what that actually cost him. This freedom of speech game you play at very high stakes, especially when you try to inform the Western regular person, man on the street, try to educate him and properly inform him. That's a big, dangerous game that you play. I think that either Anthony or Oni mentioned the fact that the Blinken ship don't want outside forces to pair in and try to educate Black Americans. Because that's a protected class when it comes to the outside world, the outside brothers, the Black world, trying to inform the regular Black man on the street and in the streets of America. The American government says that is a protected class. So we don't want y'all to infiltrate with y'all information and tell them certain things of what's going on in the outside world. It's the same idea of during slavery, when there was the Haitian Revolution. The Haitian Revolution was happening in Haiti. The slave masters didn't want the slaves to know what actually went on in Haiti. They kept that situation very hush-hush. They didn't want that information to spread among the ranks of the slaves within America, because they may be inspired by these kinds of ideas or what was going on outside of America. But it's interesting that the American government decides to protect them in those regards. But in the streets of America, Black Americans are not a protected class, even though they should be, considering that they are only 13% of the population, and they are surrounded by a hostile group of Europeans, very hostile towards them. They should be considered a protected class. So they don't protect them within the borders of the United States, but externally, we want to protect them from the information that gets to them. That's interesting. It's funny. I also want the whoever's listening to look up. There's a brother named, his name is not brother. His name is Edward Snowden. Edward Snowden. He wrote a book called Permanent Record. Anyone who could get their hands on an audio book or book, read that book, Permanent Record. He details how the American government uses information, stifles information, and how the technology around it. That's a very good book to put your hands on. It's called Permanent Record by Edward Snowden. You know, the war for information is something that is very, very important right now in the world right now, and they want the regular man on the street to remain uninformed and extremely ignorant. Why? Because they could be propagandized. The less informed a person is, the less informed or the more ignorant a person is, the more he is able or capable of being propagandized about the world around him. You know, so there's this big brouhaha over information. This brother right now, let me just say, African Streams is actually up on Rumble. It's still up on Rumble. It's still up on Rumble. But now these European corporations collectively decided, whether it's TikTok and all these other corporate media houses, decided that we're going to collectively take this person out of the sphere of providing information to the world. And they was able to do that. They was practicing pan-Europeanism. Yet on every YouTube stream that we on, you know, we are taught that Pan-Africanism is a bad thing. In fact, Anthony Blinkenship knew that African Stream was a Pan-African website, and it goes against the interests of Pan-Europeanism. So what did they decide to do? They band together and collectively decided to get rid of it. There is an example in that whole strategy. They band together, despite the fact that corporations are taught to compete collectively and on the basis of money and economics. They still band together. They say that this is bad, you know, for the overall scope of architecture of white supremacy and these ideas in the world. You can't go against the notions of pan-Europeanism. You can't tell the truth on our platform, not using our platform. You know, you got to do that somewhere else. So these guys have collectively decided as pan-European corporations to band together and say, not on our platform. And they are right for doing it. They are right for doing it. But we should be able to have a response to that. And as Anthony was saying, you know, meeting and greeting, speaking to people. But when you're playing a global game, how do I talk to a man in the Sudan? How do I talk to a man in Jamaica, even though he shares my views and ideas and thoughts? You know, so we have to be able to exercise technological literacy and look at the Chinese and find out how they are able to infiltrate and pass the information around. Not only the Chinese and the Russians, the Indians. The Indians have been able to corner the market in this technological industry. You can't stifle the information because they are the helm of technological expertise. You know, the West requires a whole lot of Indian labor, to work in as far as technocrats in these corporations. So you can't stifle the information. It'll be very difficult to. They already know how to get around the technological animals. And I think that this is one of the other industries we need to be vested in, not only in the financial, as far as the financial arena, but also in a technological arena, because we are in the battle of ideas. And at the end of the day, what can control the world is who idea gonna win over for the rest of the world. So if the Americans are able to send out their messages and set out their ideologies around the world, they will win that game. So everybody could be talking like the FBA and ADOS people in this nativist language. If we don't play the game right, you know, so we gotta.
Wow.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I want to respond. Is it cool, Coco?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, Buana, I want to hear the new voice of the Bahamas. The new voice of the Bahamas broadcast to the Caribbean, broadcast to Jamaica, broadcast to Barbados, to St. Lucia, to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and to all of the Bahamas. The new voice of the Bahamas broadcast, the independent radio station, Pan-Africanist radio station from the Bahamas, from Buana Hagaziki or one of his homeboys, broadcast out of the independent black country to the rest of the Bahamas. And you know what? We want another voice, a broadcast, independent broadcast, to broadcast all across Sudan, across Africa, and in Sudan. I look at it like this here: if Europeans could do it, we could do it too. You know what I'm saying? Okay, we need an independent radio station.
The funny thing.
Go ahead, bro.
No, the funny thing about that, Anthony, if I was to do that, right, my servers, where you could get the information from my servers, they can't be sitting within the Bahamas. I'm sorry. They have to be sitting outside of the Bahamas. They have to be sitting somewhere like in Russia or China. That's the crazy thing. This is the game we playing right now. Because if there is a big, what's it called, the United States Embassy? There's a huge United States Embassy that's sitting in downtown Bahamas right now. There also is a Chinese embassy that's sitting here as well. So if I want for you to hear the truth about what's going on in the Bahamas, my servers would not be able to sit inside the Bahamas, or I would even dare say the Caribbean itself. It will have to be somewhere else, because the United States Embassy and maybe the Chinese embassy would block that shit. You will never hear it.
Okay, check this out, man. Brother, check this out. Check this out. I'm gonna tell you what his other brother from Jamaica did to go around that. He had his message that he was teaching in Jamaica. They didn't catch on to it too much, but guess what he did? He got on a ship and he sailed to the United States, and he spread the message there, and he gained about 4 million members in the United States.
Have to do with that.
And he gained about 11 million members worldwide.
Yeah.
And he did it without airwaves, without all his name was Marcus Garvey.
Yes. Oh, that's a different. No. Yeah, Marcus Garvey. Yes, I hear that. Anthony.
We going by what we can do. Look what he did without all of it. He didn't have internet or none of that. And look at the movement. And we, all of us, me, you, and Koku, we are all Garveyites, and we follow his teachings.
Yes, sir.
But it should be noted, Garvey was big in media, though. Garvey was at the time, his thing was the printed media, like newspapers and stuff like that. So he did do that too, which also helped his message, which is where like
but Koku, what I'm saying, he had the whole government stacked against him too, but he still did his thing.
No, I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that. Yeah, we still have to do our thing. But
yes, sir.
I just want to say that there is something to mass media as well. But Bonner, finish your thought.
No. Anthony is just giving me the responsibility, and he's reminded me that if Garvey could have done it without the resources that we currently have, we need to find a way as well. So I hear that, and I respect that, and I'm working on it. Let me put it like that. I'm working on it, Anthony. I'm working on it.
Does anyone on the panel want to respond to anything another panelist had to say? You guys can go now.
Yeah, I wanted to add. The thing about how even though the guys are in Kenya, they're still getting stifled by America. And the thing is that as you pointed out, they're getting stifled on American platforms, right? And that's a part of don't put all your eggs in one basket. But another thing is that China doesn't get stifled by American media. Iran doesn't get stifled by American media. Russia doesn't get stifled by American media. And it's said that, the whole claim, and I don't know if it's true or not, but the whole claim is that, this guy in particular, or the leader of LIVESTREAM, had his background in Iran state media, that kind of stuff, right? Now I don't know how true it is, but that's one of the claims. But the point being, though, is that if it's true, the guy is familiar with state media, and the reality is that African countries have state media. It's them who are not platforming these people. So as to say that we have the resources, right? But we're not being resourceful. We have the news stations, but we're not trying to tell the news because Iran has it, And China has it, and you might say, well, yeah, that's China today. China is one of the biggest economies on the planet right now. Yeah, absolutely. But China had it for even when it wasn't one of the biggest economies on the planet. You know, and one of the things, we mentioned Obadale Cambone. One thing that you'll see about this brother is that he was on on Ghanaian news, like on Ghanaian like TV, as to say that anybody could go on thing. And I've seen like snippets of Kenyan TV, that guy who interviews people where he's like, he's mad adversarial and he's like, are you are gay, all that kind of stuff. He's on Ugandan I'm guessing state media, but the point being that we have those resources, right? Sorry, what did you say?
No, I know the guy you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. We're on the state media, but I mean, we have the state media, we have the resources, but instead of using that, we're and I don't blame the brother for going on the internet, because obviously I'm on the internet, everybody here is on the internet, right? But or not just the internet, but for going on white platforms, because everybody, so on and so forth. But the reality is that we, as an African people, have the means to produce alternatives, just like China did, just like Iran did, just like Russia did. But instead of collectively working together, or even as a nation trying to build something alternative, where our people deep inside of different African countries are really relying on white media the same way, and of course that has it has its own effect. And so even saying that, in regards to the resources that Africa Stream has, I don't know how much it has per se, but if it had a significant amount of capital, it could also, make a platform. Maybe not as popular or whatever, but it could. And in the same vein, and in the same vein, just as American CIA can invest in, this or that, or so on and so forth, there are tons of African governments that could invest the same. It really upon us to push a message of, or this should at least be the impetus for us to really really try to promote us having our own platforms, of the least, because being censored when you're not even in the country is definitely a kind of loose situation. And as other people point out too, in fact, Obadale Cambone, he has a platform, and he's not, a billionaire or something like that, and he's not a government. So as to say that, it is a very possible and practical thing, but we're not even we're not even at stage one if this is what's happening. That's all I'm saying.
I guess there's no other thoughts from anyone.
Hey, Coco, would you see is Mika on? I called her. See if she's on.
No, she's not in the backstage yet. Not yet. Okay. Shout out to Brother Bakari, who's out there in the chat. Shout out to KW Dawn 7, who's out there. Shout out to Jose, who's out there. Shout out to Kofi, the Black Critic, who's out there saying, hey, family. Shout out to you guys. Make sure you guys are subscribed to everyone on KWAZ Radio. As we all try to make something happen similar to African Stream in the future as well. Last thought from Trigger Happy, he says, African Stream probably wants to push the information to the masses of people, be it, but I don't think there needs to be a collaboration with a social media platform that is Black to build it for the future. All right. Good discussion. Something to
Coco, one second. African Media Stream. If he, what Ahmed Kabolo, whatever his name is, what he can do is to share his format, his formula in terms of getting eyes to his, or drawing eyes to his platform, share it with other Pan-Africans. Share it with other Pan-Africans on these kinds of panels and shit. So there'll be so much targets towards the US have to be focused on. You decentralize. We was talking about this last week. Give me your recipe and how you got all the eyes to these platforms, and then it'll be so many different targets. It'll be very difficult for see when you centralize yourself, you make yourself just a one target. But when you decentralize, there'll be so many different people because we'll be sharing our information across these media streams. Then who do you hit? Who do you hit? Who do you hit? Who you target? You know, so I think that you need to the brother need to share his original spicy recipe with the rest of the Pan-African world, and then we could use that recipe to get more eyes and draw it to our platforms as well, to grow our platforms, and then we, you know what I mean? So that's where I stand with. I'll leave it there.
I appreciate that too. Thank you for that. Thank you for that discussion. You know what? Let's go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 2 tonight. But this is something to keep our eye on as well. Should be topic number 2. Change of conversation. It says Rasta woman finds her feminist voice. So should be topic number 2. Rasta woman finds her feminist voice. This came with a link that's going to take us to YouTube. We'll watch the video as always, and then we will discuss.
Or a perspective on the program. And my guest today is a woman whose book in English, published around a year ago, has been so successful, it's now been translated and is being released now as well here in France. Launched later tonight, in fact, at the Maison de la Poésie here in Paris. Sophia Sinclair's How to Say Babylon, or Dear Babylon here in France, is her story as she tried to break free of her very rigid Rastafarian upbringing. She and her mother were ruled by her father's strict patriarchal views and repressive control, but she broke free to find her own voice as a woman and as a poet, and she joins us here on set. Thanks very much for coming in to talk to us today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Tell us about that upbringing in Jamaica. I mean, how hard and strict was it?
I mean, it was very strict. You know, for the Rastafari, they have different rules for the men than they are for the women, and for girls. And so there was a control over, you know, how we could dress. We had to keep our arms and our knees covered. Some Rasta girls and women had to cover their hair. You know, we couldn't wear pants, couldn't wear jewelry or makeup. Anything that was seen as an adornment or not humble was not accepted. And so, you know, the restrictions became quite difficult, you know, the older I got, because I began to question some of those rules and why they were different based on my gender.
Yeah, the Rastafarianism, I mean, it's sort of against corrupt Western influences, against Babylon, isn't it?
Yes. And so for the Rastafari, Babylon represents anything connected to Western ideology, to colonialism, imperialism, slavery, anything that they see as oppressive to the Rasta brethren or the Rasta family, they call that Babylon.
And did it go as far as being a violent upbringing, would you say?
I mean, I would say sometimes things went to the extreme in the ideology, and my father had a lot of fear that Babylon would become a corruptive influence. And I think he became very protective of us, which manifested itself in different ways.
And in modern times, you've been able to make kind of peace with him, haven't you? I mean, was that difficult at the time, or was it something that you felt naturally you wanted to do?
No, I think it was a natural thing that happened, you know, with some time, with some distance, and having the space to kind of decide for myself the kind of woman I wanted to be able to be in control of my own autonomy, to be the author of whatever vision I had for my own future, gave me, I think, the voice I needed to say to him the things that needed to be said, and the things that needed to be written in this book. And I think, you know, then he was in a place to receive them. So I think there was a lot of growth for both of us to get to that place.
You started off talking a little earlier about how, you know, you started to rebel, as it were. How did that manifest itself? How did that begin, and how did it grow?
I mean, a lot of it really began with writing and with poetry, because growing up in a household where I was often told, you know, a woman's highest virtue was her silence and her obedience, I didn't often feel like I had a voice. And it was through writing and through poetry that I cultivated that voice and nurtured a self that also came with little seedlings of doubt of, you know, what I was being told or questions about what was happening in the household. And so, you know, I think it really began with writing and with poetry, and then seeing the roads diverge between me and my brother, where the rules were so different for him than they were for me and my sisters. I just began to question a little bit.
And does it surprise you that you've been able to carry it forward in the way that you have, to the extent now where we're seeing your book being shown on the television channel?
I don't know if surprise is the right word, but I am, you know, really grateful, and it often feels very surreal, because I think of that young girl in Jamaica in that small seaside village in Montego Bay, and, you know, she just wanted to be able to make for herself what she would become, and had dreams for writing poems, which is probably the most unlikely thing I could be. And so it is sometimes surreal, but I feel very, very grateful.
And you were helped a lot by your mother, weren't you? I mean, she used to do things to encourage your writing.
Yes.
When you were younger.
Absolutely. You know, I often say I owe so much of this to my mother, that I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you if it weren't for her. She herself had always been a lover of literature, a lover of poems. She kind of got books wherever she could find them. And she shared that love with me and my siblings. And yeah, through her, I discovered how expansive literature and language can be, and the power of literature to really change a life.
So if you read the book, what do you think people will get out of it?
Well, I hope, you know, they would come away with a more nuanced understanding of Rastafari history and how it intersects with Jamaican culture. I hope that they would have an idea of Jamaica now that goes beyond the postcard paradise. I would hope that they would see a portrait of a young Rasta girl, of Jamaican womanhood, and something that really complicates the idea of Rastafari, which I think is a very male-centered one. And to give a view of what real ordinary Jamaican lives are like. This is what I would hope. And for anybody who ever grew up in a household, or who today feels that their voice is stifled or they're not in control of their own autonomy, if this book reaches even one reader who needs to hear that your voice has power and what you have to say is important, then I think I would be glad.
So having that story, writing that story, now publishing that story, and having that message out there, if you like, yeah. What comes next? How are you going to be able to carry it forward into your future adults?
I've barely finished this one.
Come on, we need a sequel. Another sequel. But,
you know, I'm working on a novel about Jamaican history. I mean, told over 6 centuries of Jamaican history, and I'm also working on a collection of poems that's centered around Rastafari vernacular, the particular way that they speak, by disrupting the English language and turning the words on, upside down. For example, my father doesn't say understand, he says overstand. He doesn't say appreciate, he says appreciate love. And this comes from, an anti-colonial root, the desire to disrupt the English language. And in my mind, I'm calling this Rasta poetics, because I think there's something so fascinatingly poetic about it. And I'm interested in exploring this through poetry, but also infusing a feminine rebellion inside of the linguistics.
Yeah. Would you call it feminism, your work, your writing?
I would say feminism, or womanism, which is a more enacted feminist idea. Yeah.
Okay. Well, great to have you with us on the program. Thank you very much for coming in and
Thank
talking.
you.
Interesting. I asked in the chat, is this a Rastafari hit piece? And to be fair, you do find Muslim women who step up and have critiques of that faith, and what they feel is patriarchy and whatnot. So I'm curious to see how others here feel about it. I know Jose in the chat, he said white DNA, white dick and attention, F these
white
harlots next.
feminism.
Pardon me?
I'm sorry, go ahead, Cole. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I'll be, it'll be interesting to see what others have to say. I wish Sister Raw was in the chat. I would have really liked to have seen her thoughts. Tonight would have been a good night to hear her thoughts on this as well. Let me start with Black Steel on this one. Black Steel, Rasta woman finds her feminist voice.
Well, honestly, I'm glad that she says that she was able to reconcile with her father, right? So it looks like whatever issue she has within the Rastafarian religion, it did not keep her from having a relationship or from being estranged with her father, which I think is a good thing. She seems to be a young person. Young people are by their very nature rebellious, right? Young people, when presented with a tradition, they're going to be like, well, why? They're going to question things. And I think sometimes that's a good thing. I don't think we should take any tradition just because it's tradition. I believe it's okay to question things. It helps young people find their place in the world. I think her critiques, honestly, were kind of tame. I didn't see her bad mouthing Rastafarianism, and I guess the dude was trying to lead her in that way. He asked her, "Was it violent?" She never said, "Yeah, it was violent." She never said that, which I picked up on that. She didn't say, "Yeah, it's violent." She used very coded language, but I guess he was trying to lead her in a way to kind of paint Rastafarianism as something that's inherently violent and abusive and whatever. I don't think she said that. I think that her statements were very measured, and I think that she was just focusing on some of the upbringing. And the thing is, Rastafarianism is really it takes a lot of stuff from the Bible, and the Bible itself is very patriarchal and very controlling. I think that that's a very good point. I think she started to say feminism, but then she kind of changed it to womanism. And I think that's an important distinction, because feminism at its very nature is really it's an integrationist movement. And it was made for white women really to gain the spoils and gain the benefits of white hegemony that white men share. White women figured, hey, we gave birth to the soldiers, we might as well benefit from that. So feminism to me is when you have a female president committing the same atrocity, the same crimes that a male president would, or a female CEO stealing the resources or exploiting the workers the same way a male CEO is. It's really just an integrationist movement, where I think where Rastafarianism is meant to be in opposition to, like she was saying, imperialism, slavery, white domination. I think that's a much better way to look at that Rastafari in itself is a movement meant to empower African people. So I'll go ahead and let the rest of y'all speak, and I'll sit back and listen to what you have to say. Thanks.
I appreciate that, Black Steel. Trigger Happy 262 Plus said in the chat, feminism has always been used against black people. There can be better ways at mending the relationship between black men and women without feminism, in his opinion. He goes on to say, Africana womanism is better than both feminism and womanism and has a much more holistic analysis. Our boy, Real Black Gentleman, is out there saying greetings, y'all. So greetings to RBG. Thanks for being here tonight. With that said, let me hear from Anthony McPhail. Anthony would say,
Hey, Coco, yeah, for time constraint, I'll pass on it, man. I think Black Steel and Triggerhead, they pretty much say what I want to say. So I'll pass on it.
all right, no problem. Oni, what say you to it?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Black Steel in the sense of this was pretty tame. I mean, the thing is this, that in a Western society, like generally speaking, there's two things. One, Western society is not really pro-religious on the liberal side, right? And two, you know, the whole gender discrimination thing is pretty looked down upon. So it's going to be a lot harder to do that in like America. So I'm guessing she's in America, and that's one of the things that you know. Of course, I'm not saying you know. I mean, some people are really opposed to gender discrimination. Let's put it that way. And I'm not saying I'm not opposed. I'm just saying that some people are. And the other issue to it is that the concept of gender roles is actually really a discouraged conversation. So whereas I might think, oh yeah, gender roles makes a lot more sense, you know, to articulate, that's kind of, I guess the word is taboo, right? So you would have to expect, growing up in the West, concepts of gender, you know, the neutral kind of gender roles, and the more you know, more common gender discrimination are really taboo, like are really taboo and really, especially gender discrimination, really discouraged. And because it is, you know, this whole religious kind of conversation is going to have a pushback, you know. So like for instance, here in Tanzania, there's some things that I'm not comfortable with, in regards to, you know, gender roles and gender discrimination, in the sense of like you might have, like, let's say a 10-year-old girl, like a niece or something, who would just come and wash dishes. Now I'm like, come on, let the little girl be a little girl. And they're like, no, you know, this is what women do. You know what I mean? It's what girls do. And you know, I'm not really opposed to, you know, somebody washing my dishes, except for the fact that I don't want children washing my stuff, because I don't think children wash dishes well, right? That's really my opposition. But the reality is that, yeah, you know, you can definitely see that sort of, I don't want to say traditional, but that kind of you know, distinction between boys and girls, and what boys are expected, and what's expected of boys and what's expected of girls, to be more profound in different societies or different economies. But in America, it's not a thing, and I think partly because in America, girls have really good access to economic wealth. You know, like to economic parity with boys, or with men. And because of that, you know, it's kind of like a fool's errand to discourage them from economic pursuits in America. You know, whereas in other countries or in other societies, or let's say in traditional societies, you might not necessarily find girls having economic parity with men, and so, you know, it would be better to encourage them to, you know, find better mates. In America, you know, it's like, you know, oftentimes, even in white circles, women are earning more than men. You know, now obviously not on the highest echelon, right? But you know, on a normal level, women, you know, can potentially. So, I think in that sense, it's like, yeah, if you really do have some strong religious beliefs or some strong cultural beliefs, don't go to America. You know, If you go to America and you're like, oh, I'm going to subjugate women or something, or I'm going to, keep my traditional values or what have you, right? You're in for a rude awakening because nobody keeps their traditional values in America except for, no, actually nobody does, like the closest you can think is maybe white people, but like really they are also heavily integrated and heavily adapting of other people's cultures as well. So it really is just kind of like this. I mean, because it seems like they're in America, so or the UK, it seems, right? But it really seems like the father had some ideas, or he's trying to rebel against Babylon while in Babylon. And it's like, that's just his fool's errand. Just stay inside of wherever you were from or wherever you were, and you won't have to worry about society corrupting, if you will. But again, it's not really like society is corrupting, it's that society, particularly America, offers really high paying jobs to both men and women, and it would be in the interest of men and women in America to pursue those high paying jobs, and acting discriminatory or what have you towards women is not only discouraged, but it doesn't make any real economic sense in America. And that's and so it's just kind of like she's pushing back on something that really, it would make a lot of sense for a young lady to push back on, and that's all I'm saying.
I appreciate that viewpoint. In the chat, Trigger262 says, how much of our gender paradigms changed by way of Abrahamic religions in Africa should also be highlighted, but even then, America would likely be diametrically opposed to pre-colonial Africa. Buana, you heard everything everyone else had to say. What say you to all of it?
Yeah, she is a young person, and as a young person, as the brother was suggested, young people are rebellious. They question things, and she have a right to question things as a young person. Question the world around her. There's nothing wrong with that. Even it doesn't matter the gender she's in, whether it's a male or a female. She has a right to question that. But for me personally, in looking at this, it's almost like a Jewish woman telling a Nazi how oppressive her Jewish father was. This man is an Englishman. Why would you tell an Englishman is more oppressive than an Englishman, and an Englishman's history is much more oppressive than your father could ever be or even think to be. Even in Jamaica itself, there was a man named Thomas Thistlewood. Any brother or sister could look up Thomas Thistlewood. He was the things that the English did in Jamaica, would make the ideas of what you talking about. Oh, my dad didn't want me to wear a dress, and it would make a regular person blush. And the fact that she is telling them how oppressive her dad was an Englishman. It is really, it's beyond the pale. It's like, man, don't you know what happened in Jamaica? Do you know what the British did in Jamaica? They started the shit. The ideas that your dad have in his head, many of the ideas come from the British man. So for her to be, it's almost like she's confessing how oppressive and bad the dad was to the Englishman. Could you imagine such a thing? The optics for me is just bad. I would have rather her be speaking maybe to an African woman or a Jamaican woman. They could have a discussion on it and things like that. But this man, he is not the person to confess how oppressive your dad was. He is not the man to confess that to. And you notice the questions, was he violent? Yeah, because they want to hear the violent talk. Imagine a British man saying how violent. Imagine a British man telling a Jamaican woman, talking about how violent her dad. Do you know the history of the English in Jamaica? It really is disgusting to me. It's disgusting to me. Really, it comes across as very disgusting to me. But I know this young sister is very young right now. She doesn't understand context. She doesn't understand optics. Maybe she does. Maybe she does. Who knows? But I'm just saying that she is really being willfully used. I understand she is trying to sell a book, but to sell your book, sister, you really need to understand context and many other kinds of things. I understand you want to wear makeup now and you want to live as a quote unquote modern woman, but sister, you are giving up more than you are gonna get back from so-called selling your story to the Western world, in particular to this British man. My goodness. But I'll leave it there, Coco, man. I think our sisters, I think Black people, not only our sisters, I think that we need to look at the full scope of things when we doing certain things rather than just willfully selling our story to the outside world without understanding context. Why do the British feel her story is more important than most other stories that probably people was trying to sell their book in the past week? Why do they feel like it's more important to sell a story? Why do you think that why do you think it's more important to talk about the oppressive dad in Jamaica? This British man take the task of this. I don't know. I think that some of us need to understand context more. Go ahead, Anthony. I know you want to talk. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
That's why I didn't have nothing to say. I think because he's talking to a white man.
I think
Anthony, it's so crazy. It's so crazy to me. The optics of it is so insane to me.
Here she goes.
It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, brother. I say here she goes. That's why I say I couldn't even talk about this because here this sister is talking about being a Rasta. Me, I don't think she was too much of a Rasta. If you hear how she was talking, because you Koku, you know how Rasta was talking when she was talking about the overstanding and understanding. It seemed to me like she was talking from a purely European standpoint. You know what I'm saying? That she didn't understand that. If you're a Rasta woman, you understand that kind of terminology that Rasta people say. Now, don't get me wrong. I ain't saying there ain't no patriarchy in Rastafarianism, because like I said, it's tied to the Abrahamic religion, the Hebrew religion. But I'm just saying, if you just listen at what she's saying, she don't sound like she growing up in no Rasta home. You know what I'm saying? She don't sound like she growing up in a Rasta lifestyle. She sounds like a young sister who's a feminist who's been educated by the white women, or at least by Western feminism. You know what I'm saying? And what turned me off was she sitting up here talking. You sit up here talking to a European about now it's in the context of your father, in Rastafarianism, but it's really in the bigger context. You really downgrading the black man in front of the white man. You know what I'm saying? I looked at it that way. You really down. You putting that. It was some bullshit. That's why I was like, I can't even say nothing about this. Now, I ain't gonna, like I said, time constraints. I ain't gonna hold about it. I'll knock off right there.
I want to add something that I noticed no one pointed out. No one pointed out her mama influenced a lot of this shit. She literally sat there and said her mom inspired her and her mom pushed her to write this book, this, that, and the other. Her mama pushed a lot of this.
But Koku, that's what I'm saying. I was going to that part. That's why I was saying she couldn't have been a real Rasta. Okay, if she's a Rasta and her mama's a Rasta too. Koku, you know more about. Hey, I studied Rastafarianism. I got Rastafarian friends, but I know you know way more than I do. Come on, man, Koku, you know Rasta women, and you know that kind of thing don't fly with Rasta women.
No, I agree. So it sounds like, to me, the reason why I brought it up, it sounds to me that the mama went through whatever she went through with the father and influenced the daughter to be kind of, I don't want to say anti-Rastafarian, but somewhat on a certain level. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the sentiments of her mother, really, that's being displayed. And I find that very interesting. Again, I'm not here to cape for Rastafarianism. I'm sure there are practitioners who go overboard because, again, these are Abrahamic religion adjacent type things, right? Judeo-Christian type things. I'm sure there's guys who go overboard. But I just find it interesting that, she's letting you, she's basically, yeah, I mean, Jose said it right there. He says, take off the gloves. Her mother betrayed her father. That's a very interesting thing. And, once you start talking about feminism, as Trigger Happy 262 Plus said earlier, that really doesn't work for us. You know what I mean? So the mama became a feminist at some point and influenced the daughter to be one as well. And that's something we have to be careful of, because if you really think about what she's saying too, the father had rules. I think Oni touched on that. The father had rules. And isn't that what we say black men supposed to be? Aren't we? So isn't that what was said at like damn near every week on here? Black men are supposed to be the leaders in their homes and this, that, and the other, leaders in the community. So it sounded like the black father was a leader. He had a certain way he wanted things done in the home, and the mother had a problem with it and influenced the daughter. That's an undermining of the family unit too. We just got to be honest about this stuff. That's a clear undermining of the family unit. But anyway, does anyone else have any last thoughts on this prompt? Any last thoughts on this prompt? Seems
yes,
not. So
yes. I have thoughts. I understand that the world don't want to take advice or authority from black men, especially when they should. Black men are supposed to be fathers, and fathers is a role of leadership. She says nothing about the law, where a bunch of old white British men create the law and they create structure for society and how it's supposed to run. You don't question them things, though. I don't question them. Needless to say, I'm not even gonna have big beef with her. I'm just saying that this sister here I feel like she's a little misguided. When they have these little patriarchy, they learn these little college terms in school. My sister, or for all the sisters under the sound of my voice and things like that, there must be order, there must be structure. And I believe in order and structure. And you may take all the order and structure for people who are unlike me, only from the white man and things like that. But if you want to be with a man on this planet, especially a man who look like you, you're gonna have to take order and structure. It is what it is. And I understand that many of my brothers may be shy to say these kinds of things, but I don't think that she would be so well dressed and poised if it wasn't for her daddy. He must have had some qualities, because he's able to get you on this kind of platform, speaking the way that you're speaking. Now you get vexed. I want to talk about how oppressive he was. Congratulations to the daddy, at least to some point, to get your daughter to this level, so where she could come up on these European platforms and debase you. But I don't listen. A strong man is a strong man. The Williams sisters, although a bunch of them marry a bunch of white men, he at least get them to where they need to be. Now you have to take on some personal responsibility. Look around you. You know what I mean? You don't want a man like your father, but your father gets you in a position where you would never be without him. Consider that. The white world tells you, don't listen to the black man. The black man has nothing relevant to say. The black man, you shouldn't pay attention to him. Girl, you need to run and control your own destiny. This is these some things that you get from the Western world you must question from time to time, because their own white women don't do it to them. And if they do, they are rejects. They're not paid attention to. Powerful men gonna have women who gonna be by their side, do the things they need to do. That is from the aristocratic level to the so-called corporate level. Look at Donald Trump. He met, if his women don't fall in line with him, he get rid of them. You know what I mean? We talking on a level of power and position. If you want to run the roost, go ahead and go run the world. You see where that takes you and gets you. But these are kind of power kind of conversations, and I'll just leave it there, Koku. Go ahead, brother.
No, I appreciate that. So I'm having some internet issue here. I can't get on TikTok. I can't get on Twitter. Drop a 1 in the chat for me if you guys can hear my voice. Shout out to Joe, who's out there in the chat. If you guys can hear my voice still in the chat, drop a 1 for me. if you don't mind. KW7 earlier said, we haven't learned anything from the past 500 years of dealing with Urugu. And I agree with that. I don't see if anyone's giving me a 1 out in the chat. But if you guys on the panel can still hear me, so I must be on the internet still. I don't understand what's going on. Okay. Trigger give me a 1, Buana give me 1. Okay. So what we'll do is I'll go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 3. I'm gonna mix up the order that I had because of the issue with Twitter and stuff and TikTok. I can't connect for some reason. So Shoot the Breeze topic number 3. Thank you for all the ones, guys. Thank you for that. Shoot the Breeze topic number 3 says, start small, literally. The first Black-owned micro community. This came with a link that takes us to YouTube. It seems to be the only thing working for me right now. We'll watch this short video and then we'll discuss it.
And Fulton County will now get tax revenue from this community that didn't exist before.
Plus, developer Booker Washington says micro communities are also keeping more money in the residents' pockets.
I'm saving about maybe $2,000. I'll be passing this down to my son.
Welcome back to Official Black Wall Street, the largest app and digital platform connecting you to the best in Black-owned products and services. Head to obws.com to download our app and discover thousands of Black-owned businesses you can shop and review today.
Has an update on how the neighborhood is coming along and is giving us an inside look.
The developer says people have already moved into 20 of the 29 homes in South Park Cottages, and the ball is already rolling on the next location, Union City.
Crews are putting the finishing touches on the final 9 tiny homes. 16 months after construction began, all 29 have been sold.
The money they spend is directly impacting this community. College Park will now get, and Fulton County will now get tax revenue from this community that didn't exist before.
Plus, developer Booker Washington says micro communities are also keeping more money in the residents' pockets.
I'm saving about maybe $2,000. I'll be passing this down to my son.
Equity. With rent continuously on the rise across Metro Atlanta, Janice Williams chose to buy for the same sized space.
I was considering getting an apartment because I'm downsizing from a 5-bedroom house on the south side, and it was just too much. My son moved out. He has a new baby, a new family he's building, and my mother is elderly. She couldn't go up and down the 16 flights of steps to her bedroom. It just makes more sense.
Williams has been in the neighborhood for 3 weeks. Washington says there are several other residents like her, singles, single parents, couples, and retirees.
The residents of South Park are diverse. They range from 40,000 upwards to millionaires that live here.
The average rent in Metro Atlanta is about $2,000 a month. Washington says the average mortgage here is $1,500, and he has his eyes set on the next project, Union Park.
Expanding in all urban metro area markets is important because every metro area market is affected by high real estate prices and squeezing out those in the lower incomes. So we are eyeing and targeting the center of Atlanta. We have a long waiting list and interest list of well over 3,000 of people that desire a micro home project.
In College Park, Teresa Bowles, 11 Alive News.
Now, for more videos centering Black business news and Black excellence, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to share this video. Head to obws.com to download our official Black Wall Street app, the largest app and digital platform helping you discover thousands of Black-owned businesses you can support today. Thanks for watching.
All right, I just want to make sure that the ad played through so you guys could support the app as well, obws.com. While my panelists are speaking, I'll try to pull 2 more Shoot the Breeze topics that'll take us to YouTube, I guess. In the meantime, though, I'd like to hear you guys' thought on this. I actually asked a question in the chat. I see Real Black Gentleman says, yay, development. I don't know if that's sarcasm or not. But, I tend to like to watch these tiny home videos to see how people are able to kind of get off grid and on a small piece of land with sometimes it's these prefab homes that they erect and they add little pieces. Okay, Real Black Gentleman says no, it's legit. So he's legit saying yeah, development. Cool for that. Kudos for that. I sometimes I'm in awe of what folks can get out of, these little homes in a nice little piece of property off the grid for the most part. And recently I was watching some of these videos and I saw a family. They had a little plot of land. They ended up putting like 4 houses up, 4 of these little homes up on the land. They share everything. It's really a good step, I think. If you're talking about building communities, start small. You know what I mean? But let me mix it up this time. Let me hear from Oni. Oni, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, yeah, this looks good. I mean, anything that helps Black folk to save money is a good thing. I could appreciate the fact that this is brought to our attention. I know that there was this brother who did this kind of stuff in like Ghana or something, right? But I think this is also just a reminder for us as a people that there's a lot of opportunity that we either like that sometimes we're not even taking, right? There's a lot of opportunity. Now, obviously, that opportunity has cost, and that cost is oftentimes going to be economical, but it's also going to be professionalism. Like I said, I ran into some problems here in Tanzania where there's a lack of professionalism in a lot of things. So I'm like for instance my internet problems and all that kind of stuff. But that's the whole thing about this world. It's like you can provide a good or a service you can for your people, and in so doing you can become economically well off. A lot of people will tell you, oh no, there's no way, you can't do it, but the reality is that you can. Will it be difficult? Absolutely, right? But all the same, I think we have to, we should see these kind of stories as an inspiration for us to do more as a people. That's all I'll say. Wait,
I appreciate that. My computer. I appreciate it. My computer is messing up right now. Real Black Gentleman in the chat says sincere, positive valuation. That's how you quadruple up your money. Jose says we do think, we do talk. Okay. With that said, let me hear from Buana next on this one. Buana, what's it?
Yes, sir. So currently, my brother-in-law actually does build prefab homes for the government, and I see the fact that it does help a lot of people. I do see that. If I was to build a home in Africa, I like container homes. For some reason, I think that container homes are very economical, and I have an interest in container homes. If I was really a builder, I would really invest or do something in container homes, because I think for me, I just like the idea of it. I think that these kind of homes, though, or prefab homes, you need to build covenants where you restrict people's behavior severely, because you want to be able to maintain these areas in the condition that they were in when they were initially created. And I'm not saying to besmirch any community, any particular people. I'm just saying that you need to create covenants where certain things are restricted from happening. And if you do these things, we're gonna kick you out of these communities. So we're gonna give you the ability to live on these spaces, to pay a little bit of money to live in these spaces, but we're gonna restrict your behavior because we don't want it to go south quickly. If you get what I'm saying. So that's the only thing that comes to mind when I think about these prefab homes or low cost homes or even container style homes. Just to restrict the behavior of the people who actually rent in these spaces, whoever they are. I think that sometimes when people hear low cost and free, it attracts certain kinds of people. But we want to be able not only to, house people, we want to maintain the areas so it'll be attractive for more people to come and invest and do other kinds of things. So that's really the only thing I would say in reference to this particular thing.
I appreciate that, Bwana. Yeah, this actually reminded me of there was a time. I mean, it still happens, but like back home, there was a time when we used to call it Rasta Camp, where people who share belief come together in a community setting. And when I look at this, I think about Pan-Africans, to be honest. I think about how we can, come together in communities with this common goal in mind. I remember the matron used to talk about this. Shout out to the matron. I think she's in the chat still. The matron used to talk about here in America, you could incorporate a community. So I think about that. I think about how Black folks talk about getting organized. Let's get organized in how we live. How we live.
Cool. The thing is, I don't mind Pan-Africans coming together and living collectively in a community. I have no problem with that. But as Pan-Africans have children who may not necessarily be Pan-African minded, or even the Pan-Africans themselves. If I want you to cut your yard every 2 weeks, that yard must be cut every 2 weeks. If I don't want you as a Pan-African to throw garbage in a certain space, don't throw garbage in a certain space. If I don't want you to play blasting reggae, even if it's cultural reggae music after certain hours within my Pan-African compound, these are the little small things that have to be worked out, regardless of the fact that ideologically we are Pan-Africans. How we live have to be restricted in a certain way and regimented too. You know what I mean? So I just really wanted to put that little thing out there for you.
No, I appreciate it, but that's a part of it. A part of it is there's rules here. We ain't gonna be like the Rasta daughter from the previous prompt. There's rules here. So I think that was the point of the incorporating your communities. You set up and establish what values your community has, and everyone who comes into that community must commit to it. And you must have a way to hold people accountable. But again, if it's cost effective, if it brings us to a unity, especially under a common type of goal, I really appreciate what the brother on the screen right now. I appreciate what he's doing, and he has a plan to build another one, another little community. I forget what part of Atlanta it was, but yeah, I think about those things, and like you too, Bwana. I'll be honest with you. I look at those videos with the container homes. I look at those a lot too because it's intriguing. It's intriguing what you can do. One man's garbage is another man's treasure, as they say. It's intriguing what you could do with those containers. But yeah, this is the kind of thing I think about when I see videos like this. I just want to share this with you guys as well and see what your thoughts are. Jose said, again, gloves off. Let's be honest, people need to behave as if tomorrow is worth something to them. I agree with that. Real Black Gentleman in the chat says a couple hood ground checks and interviews and dinners might be enough in a small neighborhood. That's what I'm talking about, Real Black Gentleman. That's exactly what you have to vet the people who you're going to build with. Trigger Happy 262 says how we live all depends on culture, though. So that being a value all depends on rules that are valuable for the community. Absolutely well said by the three of you gentlemen out there. I appreciate that. Let's move down the line again. Anthony McPhail, what say you to what you see here?
Yeah, it's a great thing, man. And like, I agree with what you were saying. You know, for I mean, like-minded people gonna get with like-minded people. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we on the same page. You know, we ain't got to worry about, you know, our children, you know, with their foolishness, because we gonna raise them right. We gonna raise them to respect, you know, respect our neighbors, respect our brothers, and sisters, respect the other people. You know what I'm saying? But like, that whole thing, I was checking this brother out. It was going back from like 2019, 2020, 2019. It's a brother in Ghana who's doing it. It's a brother. I mean, he was building. He was actually. He had a plan for doing this for an entire community. You know, with those homes. There's a brother in Ghana. I caught him on. I'm trying to. I think it was this brother Ekal Simpson show. Ekal Simpson. He's a brother from Ghana. You know, and he's like Walter Meyer. You know, like bringing the diaspora and and continental Africa together. But it's a brother who's there in Ghana, a younger brother, and it's an older brother too. They was like working together, and they were building those tiny homes, and like building communities there in Ghana. I think it may have been like in the northern region or something like that. But I got some of them in my archives. But yeah, they was doing that. But he had a business. He had like contracts. And he was doing that, building those homes. But yeah, that's a great thing, man. And I've been watching it for a minute, man. It was a couple of shows I used to look at, even with some of these shows, them European shows. What it was while I first seen it, the tiny home thing, when it was bringing this the whole concept of the tiny home, and how efficient it was and everything, and how how it cooperate with with nature and all the surrounding areas and stuff. Yeah, it's a good thing, man. It's a great thing, man. And I think it's something that we need to look into. I got a friend who built one. Not far from me, man. They have one of those tiny homes, man. And he always talking about his bills and everything. Not as much. But yeah, I think it's a great thing, man. It's a great thing, man. But yeah, I'm not gonna be for time constraints.
Anthony, is the guy's name Brandon Rogers?
That might be. It sounds like it might be him. I ain't 100% sure. It sounds like him.
Okay. Jose said Brandon Rogers, question mark, and he said migrating culture. Thanks for that, Anthony. I got to be honest with you, my computer is really acting up for some reason today. It's been a while since I've had this much trouble with it. Trigger Happy, are you familiar with the Ghanaian brother that Anthony is talking about? He says, no, first time hearing this. This is the first time Trigger heard. That tells you how much Anthony knows, man. He knows stuff that folks from a place don't know sometimes, That's very cool. Last but not least, Black Steel, you've heard everything everyone else had to say. What say you to? I guess Black Steel's not there.
I'm here. Sorry.
Black?
I'm here. I was cooking, man. I'm sorry. I had my food in the stove. I'm sorry. Anyways, I'm back. Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, I think
what you cooking? Okay.
I think this is great. Housing costs are astronomical across the board in the U.S. right now. It's hard for people to even really fathom how much housing costs. So anything that privileges, that helps Black people, afford a decent place to live at an affordable cost, I'm all for that. Buana, on Saturday morning when I washed my car, I listened to Buju Banton. So you're just gonna have to deal. I'm sorry. But
hey, Black Steel, what you cooking, Black Steel? What you cooking?
I made some chili, man. I made chili and rice.
Oh, okay, all right.
So I mean, I might not have much left over once my kid gets through with it, but I had to grab a plate. Otherwise, I won't have anything to eat because kids. Anyways, but yeah, otherwise, I think this is a really good thing. I think that housing costs are so unaffordable now that people really have to look at just being able to make ends meet. He said the average cost for rent in Atlanta was $2,000 a month. That's insane. $2,000 a month. And he was able to knock $500 off of that. That's an excellent, excellent thing to do to help out your community. And I do think, you want to have a peaceful neighborhood. You want to have a place where everybody can feel safe and at home. And I'm assuming also too with the micro home, the cost of everything is going to be significantly lower. I can't imagine your light bill is going to be as much as it would be if you're in a 4-bedroom house, or your water bill. I think it's really something that would benefit everybody in that community. So I'll go ahead and I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Black Seal. I want to add too. Some years ago on Shoot the Breeze, we talked about like aquaponics and hydroponics. So add that to the mix. Add farming, to the mix. Add solar energy to the mix. You could really build a nice little community, not just in America, but wherever, the continent, as others have mentioned, the Caribbean especially. Like it's something to keep in mind. So I thought this would be a topic that's good to keep in the back of our minds. I think Anthony wants to say something.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I seen finally Dr. Obadiah Cambone. He just finished his house. Now his house is not a tiny house. It's tall. It's a tall conical building, but it fit. He has like the solar panels. It's so conducive to nature. I mean, you have to look at it. Go to his site or BB to me, and you'll see it. And he'll break it down and explain why this works here and this works here. And I was thinking about what you just said and saying, he also is involved in agriculture around the house too, like plants and gardens and stuff like that. He has all of that, man. It's a beautiful home. It's a beautiful home. And you need to see it, man. You can see it, and he breaks it down. He got a whole a video about it and tell you like the functions of everything, man. And so yeah, I just wanted to throw that in.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm gonna go look that up because that was the next step of what I was kind of pointing at is, we could do this in such a way where it's very ecological. It's in tune with nature, how we use water, how we use agriculture, things of that nature. So it's something to keep in mind for the folks out there. Maybe one day we could talk about it a little bit further. Is there any final thoughts on this prompt? All right. What we'll do is we'll go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 4 tonight. Shoot the Breeze topic number 4 says Black women are beautiful everywhere. So, I forgot what the timestamps were. Let me see something. Let's see if I can pull it up. I'm having pure problems here. Buana, do you remember what the timestamps were on this one?
Yeah, I say from 2 minutes in, and I say you could go to 5 or 10 minutes. Well, however you decided, but
okay,
yeah, from 2 minutes in though. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I got you. So this takes us to YouTube. We'll watch maybe 10 minutes of it while I try to fix up some stuff in the background, and then we'll discuss.
So far, I have 215 subscribers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting better. I'm trying. So I've been posting a little bit of Ahorita Cuban life. More closer while we have snacks, as dinner, as breakfast, a typical Cuban life. Maybe a little bit of nightlife because I'm a tour guide. I'm gonna give you the details, not the whole information. It's just like for you to taste a little bit more what we see walking in the streets, the actual Cuban life, people going around. See, it's just details.
So can you tell me a little bit about your background?
Yeah, so I was born in Santiago. And I moved to Havana. Finally. So I moved to Havana when I was 1 year old. So I'm like the fourth generation of Haitian communities. So my great grandfather, he was Haitian. Yeah, that's a big like community of Haitian living in Santiago and Guantanamo. Nowadays I'm representing the community.
And can you tell me if you know why that community initially moved to Cuba?
They moved to Cuba after the Haitian Revolution. The French, they moved to like the east of the country. They brought all of the domestic like slaves, and they started like the sugarcane production, or the industry, working in the fields, and they had like their settlement there. And nowadays, like the most important, that it will be like the birthplace of the Haitian community, will be Guantanamo.
And so I wasn't stalking you on Instagram, but I did see that you had a lot of information or some current projects related to a Haitian Creole school. And if you could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So we have a big community, as I said, but we are not fluent in Creole. We speak Spanish. Yeah. So what we do now, we are building in Havana a small school. So we have built it thanks to donations of Haitian Americans, other immigrants that are Haitian living in another country. And it's just there, like for us to feel much closer to our background, to our heritage, like be grateful with our, like descendants. And that's it.
¿Tú puedes bailar compa?
Compa, yes. It's easy.
Sí.
Salsa, slower. I'm more passionate. Much closer.
Much closer. Okay. How does Havana compare to Santiago de Cuba? Obviously, you lived in both cities.
Yeah. My personal opinion, do not happy. Like the actual Santiago people, they are more kind, very friendly, and you feel like you're at home the whole time. I see like the lifestyle is much lower, less busy. The food, do not compare with Havana. It's like the Cuban Creole food over there. It's more Caribbean, more tradition. We are more in touch with Jamaica, Haiti, the countries that we have much closer. So you have a lot of festivals. The carnivals is another topic. The Carnaval de Havana, they have the best carnivals, the best food, the best snacks, the beer. That Crystal Bucanero is big time people just like rushing by to get their beer. It's something different. You feel like home the whole time. But compared to Havana, it's less safe. I don't know why. I don't know, maybe because they are like they struggle a little bit more financially. It's not always, it had never been recommended like going outside late nights, robberies. It has been always like that. Maybe with time it have improved. I don't have like good memories about it, but that's it.
Would you say, economically speaking, there's a lot more opportunities aquí in La Habana?
Of course, everything's here. Everything. The best universities are here. The best schools, everything. You can work in the industry, the main factories are here, the best hospitals. It's the epicenter of the whole country. If you want to have a better salary, you have to have a.
So what type of advice do you give first-time travelers, say men, coming to Cuba? What kind of advice do you give them?
Bring cash. This country ain't for credit cards. We're not ready for that. You're going to a cashier, you get like a really low rate. I don't know. I'm not gonna say what I actually think. Bring cash. Okay. Minimum
per day.
It depends because you have like the luxury type of clients. They will not eat in an average restaurant.
Right.
I'll say 100.
100.
Two people in a restaurant, easily, a nice restaurant, they can consume around 20,000 easily. Drinks and a main meal.
So the rate you see online for Cuban to US conversion is not the actual rate. The rate, as I speak with you right now, is about 320 to 1. In order to get the best rate, reach out to your Airbnb host. Promise me you'll never, ever go to an official change house. Their rates are 130 to 1. Come on, man. So, okay. Who do you think has more fun? Would you say the tourists that go for the luxury or the tourists that like to go into the barrios?
You know. Easy question. The people who want to see like the real life, the people that I have been taken before to play dominoes in the corner,
Yeah,
to
claro.
have some rum,
Mhm.
to get inside of a what's the word?
Callejón de Jamo?
No.
No.
No, the drums and no.
Yoruba?
Nah, you don't know. The people that are curious about that, but
Yeah.
they don't know what they're getting into.
Mm.
You gotta learn. You gotta learn before you do that. I would never like recommend like getting to a religion. You gotta study before you get into that.
Mm-hmm.
And see who that you get in like the actual, ceremonies and there's a scam everywhere.
Yeah.
That's everywhere.
Mm.
Everywhere. The getting to a solar.
Okay.
You
Okay.
are taking them, go to a solar,
Mhm.
they wanna eat the same that you eat.
Right.
You think that's experience and those are memories.
Mhm.
You go to a hotel, go to the swimming pool, stay there, lie there. Lie there. No. You went to a solar, you play dominoes, you play baseball with the kids,
Mhm.
you play basketball.
Mhm. And can you describe for the people what a solar is?
A solar. So a solar, it could be 10 small apartment in the same floor. One bed, one bathroom each. And what we call, let's just say a false ceiling. What we call the barbecue. You know what? That's me. I say, you know what they call barbecue because it could not have any windows.
Really?
Yeah, barbecue. You melt it. You melt there. Yeah, it's like an adaptation.
Mhm.
Do like another floor.
Mhm.
What is considered to be an attic is another room where people put beds.
I see. I see.
Yeah, to have more space because like also families in here big.
Yeah.
They have to make
Little
something.
partitions. Yeah.
Exactly, partitions. You have to share the same system of water.
Uh-huh.
You got people with the buckets to get the water.
Mhm.
It's very like
Is that more common here in La Habana or in Santiago? Mm.
remember people come from the east to Havana to get better salaries.
Mhm.
So they have to fit wherever.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy.
All right, I'll stop it there. I gave it 10 minutes. So the should be topic number 4 says Black women are beautiful everywhere. I don't know. Well, I guess we'll figure it out. Black Steel, what are your thoughts on what you saw just now?
Man, I ain't heard nothing that girl said, man. I just want to play in her hair, man. That's all I'm gonna say. I ain't heard nothing she said, man. I heard her talking about some
Let me go, Coco. Let me go, Coco. Because that might be the case for everybody.
Cash. Like, baby, how
Yes.
much cash you want me to bring, baby? Just tell me
Yes.
I'm not on my way, girl. Say less. All right, I'm done.
Yeah, let me go, Coco, because they ain't gonna understand it. So this guy is named Keenan Lambert. So for all the brothers who want to know if he goes to every part of the so-called Caribbean, Cuba, Panama, Haiti, and the places where you usually don't see the tourists because he speaks Spanish and he is actually from New York, but he's a Jamaican out of New York and he speaks the language. But the reason for me putting up this post is because she is a Haitian lady. And she's a Haitian lady, and people are not used to seeing. They have a particular view of how Haitians are supposed to look, or how Cubans are supposed to look. And this is the face of Cuba, and people don't really know. Black Steel, you must go to Cuba, brother. You in South Florida, you gotta go to Cuba, bro. You gotta go. It'll change your life, and especially the fact you're a friggin' socialist. So you gotta go. you gotta go. But Black women are beautiful everywhere. Black women are beautiful everywhere, and it's just interesting in this particular video for all the brothers who are interested. The fact that she is a young lady, but she's very sophisticated about her business. But within Cuba itself, they've been deprived with so many different things. So within this video, he gave her Popeye's chicken. She never had Popeye's chicken before. So he brought Popeye's chicken with him when he came to Cuba, and he had to eat it on video, and she was just like, "What is this?" She don't know what chicken strips are. It boggles the mind, the perceptions of how we live in the so-called Western world and how other people live in the Western world. Because Cuba is just an hour away from where I am right now. It's just an hour away, and the contrast is drastic in terms of how the Cuban people live. I notice Cubans. What I like about the Cuban women is they wear their naturals. You don't see them with a lot of makeup and stuff like that. They usually are very fit in comparison to the rest of the Caribbean. It's just a whole different reality that's going on in Cuba. And I don't understand why. I think that I think that Cuba should be visited more, especially she referenced Yoruba and the Yoruba tradition. When I go back to Cuba, I'm going in terms of looking at the religions and how it's been maintained, because I recognize that Castro allowed a lot of the African religions to flourish within Cuba. So there is African tourism, African religious tourism aspect down there. So when I go back there, I'm going primarily for that, because I need to investigate that a little bit more. But if any one of our brothers was to watch this video, it's very insightful in terms of the culture, in terms of many Haitians went to go to Cuba, and there are many Haitians who actually speak Spanish. A lot of people don't know that as well. Many Haitians from Haiti and those areas, they speak Spanish because the Dominican Republic is so close, and many of them did migrate to Cuba as well. So by the time they get to South Florida, many of them really know and understand Spanish. People don't know that. But this is just a beautiful video, really just showcasing the fact that Black women are beautiful everywhere. And I just really wanted to share it with the brothers. So I'll leave it there.
A couple of things. I'm noticing as of late, there is this push for folks to recognize Haitians as Latino, because they speak French, which is a so-called romantic language, blah blah blah. But when I ask Azuli and them kind of guys about it, Azuli them tell you they are no Latino. But there's a big push recently for folks to call Haitians Latino. Another thing I learned literally this year, and I didn't know Celia Cruz was Haitian by birth. She was Haitian by birth and grew up in
I didn't know that. I didn't know she was Haitian either. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that until this year. I heard that this year. I heard that like a few weeks ago, actually. So it's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. The other thing I got from this video that was very interesting to me, I didn't know Cuba's conversion in terms of currency. I didn't know it was that low. It's only like 1 to 350 or something like that. That's pretty surprising. I would have thought Cuba, I would have thought the conversion would have been something huge, but 1 to 350 is very interesting. So Juana gave us the passport bro tour of this video. Let's throw it to Oni, former.
Yeah, don't take your girlfriend with you to Cuba. Don't take your lady with you to Cuba.
Well, what I would say is, I don't know. I think there's bad sisters in Tanzania. I think there's bad sisters in Tanzania. I mean, this is a nice sister, but I mean, I don't really understand. I mean, I know Buana just explained it, but I don't really get the prompt. I mean, it seems like it's just a pretty sister talking about her life in Cuba. Okay. You know, I mean, I feel like real talk. I feel like there's beautiful women like in every, you know, kind of like what the prompt is. Black women are beautiful everywhere. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't know. I mean, I guess it's yeah. I mean, I actually have nothing really to add to that. I mean, not having Popeye's chicken makes a lot of sense. You know, Popeye's chicken being an American franchise. You know, like an American business, and I'm guessing American businesses aren't really that popular in Cuba. Um, but I mean, I don't know what else. I mean, it's just yeah, that's cool. People live different lives in different countries. But I would say, like I said, you know, I kind of like some more meat on my bones. You know, and yeah, I mean, I just like a little more meat. But yeah, she's a gorgeous sister. And I think a lot of sisters, no matter what country, are going to are really amazing. So yeah, I think that's all I can say.
I want to say you got to be too something to do something.
Thanks for that, Oni. Good conversation in the chat about the statistics, the demographic statistics of Cuba. I'm going to come back to Buana on that in a second. But I talked about the Latino designation that's being pushed heavy. For some reason now, it is being pushed heavy on Haitians. Jose said Latino is a broom with which they push history under a carpet. Trigger Happy 262 Plus says, I think the Latino identity makes no sense, so no Haitian should embrace it. Identifying as Black African or Black equals African makes more sense. Jose in the chat says this sister is glorious and looks like fun, vivid. Appreciate that. With that said, let me hear from Anthony. Anthony, what say you to this?
Okay, all right. Yeah, those. Okay, yeah. I was almost kind of like on it, boy. I was like, what do I need to say about it? But okay, okay. First, I address this. Well, the first things first. Like the prompt says, Black women are beautiful everywhere. All Black women are beautiful, whatever country, whether it's here in the United States or in the Caribbean or Central and South America or the continent. We can all agree on that. Black women are beautiful everywhere. I want to go to a couple of things, address a couple of things real quick if I can. Okay, first I go to what Koku was talking about that changing Haitian identity to Latino. Okay, and you kind of hit on it at first, Koku, where you were saying that yeah, because because of the languages, Spanish and French, are from what they call the Romance languages, the Latin languages derived from Latin, the language that the Romans spoke. Okay, I want to remind you. Now, in the 1950s, going up into the independence movement in Africa. Okay, all right. I know you've heard of the Central African Republic, right? All you brothers heard of that? Excuse me, brother?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, y'all let me know. I'm talking over. Okay, the Central African Republic. Before the Central African Republic was by that name, it was called Ubangi Shari, the colony of Ubangi Shari. Okay, the first prime minister and president, his name was, excuse me, his name was, what is movie? His name was, Felix Boganda. Hold on, it was Boganda. Hold on, what's his name? Boganda. I don't know if his first name was Felix, but his name was Boganda. His last name was Boganda. He was the uncle of the later president who became emperor, Jean Bedel Bokassa. Okay, Boganda. This guy Boganda, I think it was Felix Boganda. He was the first prime minister and president. Okay, now he was one of those guys who was one of those like a halfway Boigny and Leopold Senghor in Senegal. They was raised by the French. Excuse me. They were groomed by the French. To be puppets. Okay, now this Boganda guy, what he wanted to do, like it was around 1960 when the country became independent, and the countries of Central Africa, like Central African Republic, Congo, Cameroon, Congo, Brazzaville. They wanted to create a block, an independent block. And guess what the block was called? Latin Africa, the Latin Africa block.
Right.
You know what I'm saying, Coco? It was called the Latin Africa block. Yeah. So I mean, I'm tying that in. I'm tying that into what you were talking about the Latino, the Latin identity. You know, they wanted to create a block called the Latin block. So I mean, it's basically a way of, you know, like of maneuvering stuff around, you know, to the Western geopolitical sphere. Okay, that being said, right there, I want to go back to something that Buana was. Okay, this brother right here, I think I've seen him before. I watched probably a couple of his programs. I'm gonna tell you a brother who also went to Cuba and will give you probably a more in-depth thing. He's more culturally in tune with the environment, not only in Cuba, but in other parts of the Caribbean and Central and South America. This brother called Ace Live. You got to show Ace Live. Ace Live is a Haitian American. He's a Haitian brother. He was born in the States, but his family's from Haiti. He did a show in Haiti. I've been following for a couple of years. And he went to Cuba a couple of years ago, like a year and a half ago. And he went around, you know, he was involved in the culture and learned about everything. And excuse me. And boy, like you know, and he opened up my mind to a lot of things. I did a little study before, but I know that in Cuba, you know, now Cuba, like the demographics, you know, it's about 60% or more of the people in Cuba are of African descent. Now, you know, you have some who are mixed and they're different colors. They mix, you know what I'm saying? But it has a strong African element. And out of that African element, it has a strong element from Southeast Nigeria, from the Yoruba culture. Now, see, in Cuba, the Yoruba culture is called by another name. They don't call it Yoruba necessarily. Sometimes they do, but they call it Lakumi. They call it Lakumi. And it's a practice that we know, we call it Santeria in the States, but in Cuba it's called Lakumi. It is an African spirituality system. And it's very prevalent. And like you were saying, Fidel Castro, he made a strong effort. I give him props for that. A strong effort to preserve, you know, those African cultures that were brought to Cuba. And it's very strong. It's called Lakumi. You know, because that's what they call the Yoruba who were brought. The Yoruba who were brought from Nigeria, you know, to Cuba, they called them Lakumi. Now, some of the Nigerians that they brought to other places in Jamaica, whatever, Haiti, they call them other names like Nago. But in Cuba, they was called Lakumi. And like, and you know, and it's very strong there. But that brother Ace Live, check out his blog. His show that he did in Cuba is much more informative than this brother's right here. I watched this brother before. He good, but he's more like a passport bro in the sense of like, yeah, I'm just passing. I just want to know a little bit something. But Ace Live is a guy who's more into. He gonna get you in the culture and everything. You know, like he go in the grassroots. He gonna get you in the culture. And that part made me laugh about the chicken because there's many chickens that they got in Cuba. You know what I'm saying? People in Cuba eat a whole bunch of chicken, fried chicken, smothered chicken. They eat a whole bunch of chicken.
In fact, yeah, Ace Live is Ace Live is actually Asian, by the way. But first of all, let me say this, Anthony. I hope you get well and better soon because I hear you're having some troubles. So I hope you get better soon and clear that scenario up. But I also hope that you get in the classroom, bro, because you have a encyclopedia kind of mind when it comes to these kinds of matters, and many people in Louisiana could benefit from your information, bro. You know, so I hope you do something with that, bro. Don't die with that. Don't die with that. But yeah, you're right though. You're right when it comes to the fact that Fidel Castro did allow a lot of the African religions. She's eating the chicken right now. Fidel Castro did allow for a lot of the African religions to be retained in Cuba as opposed to these colonial Caribbean countries. And like I say, man, there's something about Cuba that I get that I didn't get. That it's a life-changing experience, bro. You know what I mean? It really has me wanting to go back there and really just get involved in a whole lot of different kinds of things after my first time going there. It's a draw there. And I think that that you are right when you mentioned the fact that there is a lot of cultural aspects and elements to it. But I didn't know that the Western world is trying to pin Haiti with the Latin world. I didn't know they was trying to do that. I didn't know that. But since y'all bring it to my attention, I'll pay attention to it and I'm going forward, but I'll leave it there. I'll leave it.
Anthony, were you finished with your thought there?
Yeah, I'm good, Coco.
Okay, all right. I appreciate that. I heard from Blacks. I heard from everyone then. In the chat, Jose said something interesting. He said, Mbalax, I could be messing it up, or Balax, or Malax. Senegalese national music has Cuban music in its roots. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I have to look into that. Trigger Happy 262 Plus says a comb, for example, is just a ceremony on top of other ceremonies and rituals the Akan do. That's good to know too. He said earlier, many times a lot of African spiritual systems don't have names, but adopted names by using the names of either ceremonies or the name they use for the supreme being or even spirit. Good stuff. Before I move on to the next topic, the final one for tonight, Buana, when you were in Cuba, what did you notice? Just from your glance, what did you notice was the demographic? Would you say the demographic makeup of Cuba?
That's a curious question because there's a mix. Where I stayed with a man who looked more from Spain. Okay, like people call white Spanish. But the people who was working within his house, they look like my mommy and your mommy, black women, and you have a large swath of mixed race people. Like through the airports when I was going, we call them brown in Jamaica, and brown skinned people who look just like our sisters. You go throughout the airports, they look like our sisters. Beautiful women. And this ain't no joke, bro. So, there's just a mix of different, as the Americans would say, skin tones. There's a mix. But like the brother said, it depends on where you are. If I am in Santiago, I maybe see the population different as opposed to Havana. In Havana, you see a big mix of black and mixed race people. In Santiago, maybe I don't know. I really don't. I didn't get a chance to go to Santiago. I'm gonna go next time, but I'm probably sure that there are probably a lot more brown people in them areas. It just depends on where you are in the country. It just depends.
Well, I'm sorry. I can barely hear you. Somebody's mic is on. Can we fix that? What's going on?
No, I think Buana had either YouTube on or a radio on in the background, right, Buana?
Oh, can you hear me now? That was my phone who was on. That was playing. Yeah. So y'all can hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So like I say, it just depends on where you are in the country. Okay, so if you are in Havana is the city. Havana is like Nassau. So you want to see a whole lot of different mixes. You're going to see white Cubans. You're going to see so-called mixed race Cubans, and you're going to see Cubans who look just like this gentleman right here. Okay, where I stayed in Verdado. In Verdado, you will see a lot of mixes too. You see people who white Cubans, you see mixes. So I'm still in the city center, but if you go outside in the country areas like Santiago, I didn't go to Santiago the last time. So in Santiago, there may be a lot of black folks down there. When I go next time, I'm gonna go to Santiago because that's where they make a lot of the cigars and shit. Because I wanted to bring some cigars back with me when I came back. So when I go next time, I'm gonna go to Santi. I'm gonna just go. I just like the experience there. It's just a different feel. So and the kind of experience I'm gonna go. I'm gonna really investigate in terms of looking at it like blacks and whites and mixed race. I'm gonna look at it like that the next time I go. Either I gonna go first or Black Steel gonna go because he in South Florida, so he could go too. So one of us gonna get there first. But I'm probably gonna, when I go again, I'm gonna look at that to see what the makeup actually is. Rather than looking at it on the internet, I'm gonna see what it actually is. So.
Hey, Warner.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey, did you ever go to that city, Matanzas in the north?
In Cuba?
Yeah, it's like, because they say it's like the Washington. They say it's like 80% black.
I could go there next time. The only place I went to Havana, and I went to Vedado. Vedado is like the suburbs in the main city of Havana itself. But I'll go there next time. But I'll go to Matanzas and I'll go to Santiago. Yeah, I can go. I'll go next time. Yeah, I'll go next time I go. I'll go next time I go. I'll keep that to go next time I go. But I'm going there again because, like I say, it's a life-changing experience, Anthony. I promise you, bro. It'll change your perception of reality. So I'm gonna go. When I go again, I'm gonna go in them places. But I'm going as far as a religious kind of thing because I really would like to see how they change the Yoruba and the religions, the African religions in Cuba. So I'm going to go on based off of that. But since you tell me that, I'm gonna look into that. I'll look into that the next time because it's just an hour away from Nassau. It's just an hour away from here, so I'm gonna go again.
That sounds good. In the chat, last word from Trigger Happy says, "I don't know if you could say Castro let a lot of African retentions flourish when he did ban a lot of African-related things too, but that debate made it clear too, and that debate is." Earlier he posted, so you guys could check out that YouTube video that Shakara had about Castro when you guys have a chance. If there's no last thoughts on this topic, okay, 1 second. Trigger said I saw mostly mixed and Afro-Cubans. And then lastly, Trigger says, I think for many there is an importance in Cuba being black, because if it was white, it would support some argument that American sanctions are being done on white people in Cuba. Anthony, go ahead, and anyone else with any last thoughts can go after Anthony. Go ahead.
Yeah, I like to say that, while Fidel Castro allowed the cultural aspect to flourish, he oppressed the hell out of the black political movement. You know what I'm saying? He oppressed the hell out of the black political movement. I mean, he stifled them. I mean, it's this brother named Carlos Moore, who's a black Cuban, Afro-Cuban. Man, he got some good work on it. And other writers too. Yeah, he didn't, well, he gave some token brothers this and that. But yeah, he stifled the hell out of the black political movement. But then again, well, I let him do some cultural stuff, but there ain't gonna be no politics. I just want to say that.
But Anthony, Robert F. Williams, the guy who wrote the book Negroes with Guns, he went to Cuba. So I'm glad
you said that. Wow, I'm glad you said that. Guess what? You know what? Okay, it's just like this here. Okay, if you go back to the 60s, how the American government, how all of the shit that they did to keep black people, the oppression of black people here, they would allow an African diplomat to come over here and give him all kind of props, like a Solomon Boyer, especially if he was a pro-West guy. Come over here and treat him just like a first-class citizen, but they treat the local black people like second-class citizens. You know what I'm saying? So of course we gonna let this black man Robert F. Williams come over here. We gonna treat it right and make we gonna do good for him, but we ain't gonna do that to the local black people.
Yes, sir. I understand that. Yes, sir.
All right, that turned out to be a good discussion, actually. Let's go to Shooter Breeze topic number 5, last topic for tonight. Shooter Breeze topic number 5 says, why can't we have more of these in our communities? And this takes us to YouTube as well. Only thing that's working for me tonight. Let's watch the video. It's short, minute and a half, and then we'll discuss it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chattahoochee Hills Charter School. I'm Kendall. I've been a student here since kindergarten. Today, we're going to show you all of our great aspects of the school. Let's go.
This is the greenhouse. Everyone is responsible for planting, growing, and harvesting a variety of fruits and vegetables, along with other edible plants. On to the next spot.
Next up, we have our art class. With a focus in the arts, our students engage in our visual arts program where they learn how to draw, paint, design, and other visual art aspects. Let's go to the trail. A great thing about our school is that we have nature trails. Our trails can provide information about the environment, its changes, and what we're learning in the classroom. Now let's go to the farm. This is our farm. After seeds have grown to seedlings, we transport them to the farm to be harvested. In our agriculture class, we learn about the essentials of farming for a bountiful harvest.
And finally, this is where we eat lunch. You can hang out with friends, you can relax on the hammocks, or you can play a quick game of basketball on our court. There are various sports you can play using our court and field.
And that's it. You can definitely tell Chad runs in his very own unique way. We learn more about art, agriculture, and environment, and that's because learning's in our nature.
Pretty cool, pretty cool. So why can't we have more of these in our communities? And again, if you add this to the micro communities we talked about, you add this to the hydroponics we talked about in the past, I think we could actually do some good things in our communities. Why don't we have these in our community? Let me start with Oni. Oni, what would you say?
Well, I mean, it looks like we have those, but I think if you're talking about, it depends on what country you're talking about, but that's what it comes back to. It's like if you're in another person's country, they have a lot of say on what you can build and how you can build it, and of course you have to move a certain way. I remember when Umar was talking about building a school, and shortly after he announced what school he was interested in, somebody else buys it up. Now, maybe it was a coincidence that somebody else bought it up at the time that he announces it. I don't know, but because in retrospect, he took a really long time to get a school up. But all the same, it's like, yeah, I think it comes back to this hostile environment kind of thing that I kind of go over. I kind of repeat, which is in a hostile environment, you're going to have greater trouble trying to get things done. You have to build things within the law, within the legal system, and that legal system is sometimes going to be arbitrary depending upon who you're up against. So one of the queens of education, why do I remember her? What was her name? I think it's like starts with a C or something. But
Sizemore.
Come again?
Barbara Sizemore?
No, not Barbara Sizemore. This lady made a school in her like she had like a upper floor. Cicely Tyson did a movie with her, a movie of her. I know Anthony. Yeah. You remember the sister's name? But anyway, she's this brilliant educator, and what happened was while she was doing her education or what have you, she's up in her upper floor, and some firefighters come along and say, "Oh, you're not up to code." And then fortunately she was able to talk her way out of that whole thing. But like that's a real story that just keeps on recurring. Like I keep hearing the same story of firefighters coming to shut down Black businesses, allegedly for fire code violations when there's no fire code violation. A lot of times it's a bribe involved, And a lot of times it's just, oh, we just don't want Black people doing stuff. And whatever we report as the fire department goes, it's law, you know? So it's like white people have a lot of ways to shut you down. And on top of that, if you do anything, and white people also have a lot of laws in place such that they can shut you down or they can infiltrate you and sabotage you. You know, there's a sister, in fact, I guess she passed away now. Oh, Ollie McLean. She was in Brooklyn, and she had an independent Black school. And what happened was that some, you know, like a Black youth, you know, alleged that. Well, actually, no, I actually didn't hear the story because you know his sister didn't want to repeat it. So I guess I really shouldn't repeat it either. But you know, from what I could gather, maybe a student lied about something that might have happened at the school, or you know, as far as I can gather, the student probably lied about something that happened at the school, or that's the community idea. But regardless, that student could brought some legal attention to Ollie McLean to the point where her school never really got much success afterward. You know, like basically the media went against her, and you know, some people, like, you know, I told you guys I had an elder in the community. So some people suspect that the student's grandmother, you know, had a certain role and so on and so forth. Now, I don't want to say this because I don't know really the nature of that. You know, that was before my time. And maybe there was a legitimate gripe. I don't know. But regardless, it's like, yeah, if you're in a situation or you're in a system that's hostile to you, anybody can infiltrate you, right? You have very little legal protection for whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, right? And that's why I say, you know, if you really are trying, like for instance, you could build a really good school in America, right? Or actually, matter of fact, this is actually a true story. There was that brother, the young conservative brother who built a nice school, and then somebody in the community attacks it, you know? And if he didn't have the ability to appeal to other people to try to restore what was stolen, he would have just lost it all. Now, luckily, he's able to appeal to a broader audience to get what it is. But the reality is that a lot of, like, if you're going the 100% Black route, 100%, I only want Black folk to do this kind of stuff, you know, one, you're not going to get that legal protection. So somebody can come into your building, steal some stuff, walk away, and sabotage your economic, your endeavor. But it's just a long list of, yeah, you're in this hostile land where you're not going to have those legal protections. And because you're not going to have those legal protections, anybody, if you don't have legal protections, let's just face it, you might have a tougher life than you bargained for, especially if you're trying to do something economic, right? If you don't have those kind of protections, you know, that's what it is. And Black folk, particularly Black nationalists, right? The Black Pan-Africanists, you don't have legal protections in America. And that's what the Africa Stream conversation was about. And that's what, that's what everything is pointing towards. You know, if you do go the, like the Black conservative route, or you go, even worse than that, like a Black coon route or something like that, you might get some legal protection. But like at what cost? That's it.
Only if you don't mind, let me ask you two questions. One of them you could say pass to if it's too personal. First, in your time in Tanzania, have you seen any endeavors like this one where local children are being connected to their culture, but also being connected to their environment in this nature? Number one. Number two, now that you're in Tanzania, I know when you're in stateside, you homeschool your son. Is your son going to go to a Tanzanian school now that you're on the continent?
Oh yeah. So my son's now inside of I don't call it the public school system. I just call it the school system. In Tanzania, it's good. It's excellent. you know, as far as are there like schools with like high technology and high cost, yeah. But again, you would probably have to go to, like, I'm not inside the rich area. You probably have to be inside of the rich area. But there's a whole bunch of like there's different types of schools, here in Tanzania. So they have like I think they call them like American schools, where they have like the American curriculum. They have the local schools, which is like the regular school that most people will go to. They even have what they call African schools, which it's kind of weird because we're in Africa. I don't remember what's the purpose of that, but I feel like some of the schools, basically, some schools will teach you English, some schools will teach you Swahili, right? And I think, and then of course there are religious schools, all that kind of stuff. The reality is that most anybody could open up a school. It's just going to cost you, the cost of the building and the cost of the equipment. But like most anybody can open up a school, and a lot of people take that opportunity, and particularly a lot of Black people take that opportunity, and that's really what it comes to. So it's like, I mean, obviously, you're probably not going to get this. I mean, I don't know. Like the rich students, like rich people, will probably have a bunch of rich facilities, and of course, like I remember, I was dating this teacher one time, and she was inside of what they call an international school, where a lot of students are going for that, international type curriculum. But of course, I'm not trying to go for no American curriculum, so that's why I didn't go to those schools. But and of course, they cost a whole bunch of money.
I
But
don't.
yeah,
I don't mean to cut your kinks and Bible, but is your son learning Kiswahili as well, like in the schools that he's going to? Is he learning that language?
yeah. So it's more like a class as opposed to like all the instruction is done in Kiswahili. So the instructions are done in English, but there's a Kiswahili class. Now, does he pass it? No, but the language is hard. But yeah, he gets to learn, like he gets to learn it as an extra class. And I mean I mostly do that. Yeah, I mostly do that because like if he was an entirely, like, all instruction was done in Swahili, he would just be at a huge disadvantage to other students. But also what's interesting too is that in this country, you could just opt out of, well, because he's not a citizen, I guess, you could just opt out of like the final grading and just kind of like pass, pretty much. So although I probably shouldn't have said that, but
Does he have friends who speak the language?
Which language? Swahili?
Able to pick it up faster. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but everybody speaks Swahili in Tanzania. So like everybody speaks Swahili.
Okay.
But
so he'll be able to pick it up faster that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. But it's yeah, I guess.
I appreciate that, Oni. Jose in the chat said, my son is on a private school and still 40 plus in one classroom. That's interesting. By the way, it was Marva Collins. The matron came through with that. Well, we did discuss some issues. Yeah, Marva Collins.
Appreciate it,
so
sis.
Thanks for that, Oni, as well. And thanks, matron, for that as well. Buana, what say you to what you saw here?
No, these are beautiful American kids. The onus is on their parents for after they leave these institutions, these beautiful institutions, to have a soft landing. And what I mean by that is they need to prepare them, have them with jobs, opportunities that'll be able to, that they could come into after they finish these kinds of rigorous kinds of education and training. You have to give them a salary at the end of this kind of education. So the onus is on the parents to make sure that happens, whether it's through them being able to establish their own selves in business. So at the time that they finish, they could get a legitimate salary of all this education and make their own businesses better, make their parents' businesses better after receiving this kind of level of education. That has always been my mentality, as far as, even though I ain't get there yet, that my nieces and nephews will be able to, or my own children be able to build off of something that I've been doing while they was in school. This is carrying on tradition, like Donald Trump and his father You know, after Donald Trump graduated from his prestigious universities, he was able to fall into the kind of training and education that his father gave him in the outside world, and was able to produce money from these kinds of education and experiences. And that's the onus on us. I love the children. The children, my niece, when I look at these kids, I see my nieces and nephews, I'm ready to reach in my pocket and give them money. You know what I mean? But that's free money. You know, so with all this education, they should be able to have a level of sophistication that will be able to improve whatever businesses the adults that develop or been developing all the time these children were in school. So make your own industries and the idea of education and training. You know, you have to build your community and make your community better. So I say, while they're in school educating themselves, the adults supposed to be on the outside, in the outside world, acting almost like savages to make sure that when the kids graduate, they'll have a soft landing and say, well, come into my business and tell me all the education you learn, how I can improve my business and make my business better. You know, so because we are supposed to be competitors, not using this information to go and give it to some other group of people. But that's a whole other discussion. But I'll leave it there, Coco.
I appreciate that, Buana. By the way, shout out to Queen Taste. I interviewed her. Some of you might remember. She does the African Center School. Afro-Native World, who's usually in the chat, is an instructor with them. I'm pretty sure I saw a video where she was on the continent, maybe Ghana. She was in Ghana, and I think she was going through some of the school systems, or going through a school system there. I'm sorry, Anthony. So what?
She's in South Africa now.
Oh, okay. So shout out to her on the continent, doing, continuing that work that she does. With that said, Anthony, what say you to why can't we have more of these in our communities?
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. Cool. Like I said, Queen Thais is in. I communicated with her. She's in South Africa now, and she's networking over there, and trying to. She's working with some brothers and sisters over there in the African Center School, curriculum too over there, and she's trying to bridge the gap. With a diaspora thing, African to African thing. She did a video on IG that I was checking out, man, and I texted her, and she texted me back, man, and she was kind of enlightened me and gave me a little information on what she was doing. So yeah, she's over in South Africa right now. But okay, but yeah, that's I think it's a great thing, and I think that there are more of them than we would think that we get credit for. In Atlanta, I mean, I know y'all heard of the Occupant Institute with Dr. Mawalemo Baruti, but there are actually several African Center charter schools in the Atlanta metro area. I mean, charter schools, believe it or not, there are actually several charter schools with African Center curriculum. All black charter schools with African Center curriculum. And it's almost kind of like, how they had those Saturday schools, how, okay, you got the mainstream education, but then you come here to get that African Centered education. But actually, they have several of them there. And they also have one, you have Nation House in Washington, D.C., and you have the Uhuru Academy, Baba Amin, them down in North Carolina. So, so they're doing something down there. And Brother Kamali, he has this thing in New Orleans. Now, he's back and forth between Louisiana and the continent, because he goes to Ghana a lot. But they do actually have something on the ground in New Orleans at the Kamali Academy. But one person who I think we need to get a little bit more learn a little bit more about, or shine a little bit more light, is Brother Obafemi Kinsia Delele. He has a whole. They don't have a school. He works it hand in hand with Baba Mawalemo them. But I'm saying he has the community garden thing up in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. It's a considerable movie. It's I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's I got it on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, he do the community garden thing up there. It's a black collective, and he worked with a group of people.
Anthony,
You know, they do.
Anthony, I thought she was gonna say, I thought she was gonna mention the Frederick Douglass Market Marcus Garvey Fake School in Delaware.
Yeah, you better stop playing with me. But but now he got his thing up just like it's a community garden thing program where he does a lot of things up there. I've been communicating with him lately. We try to get some off the ground. But we have a number of these African Center schools, man. Like you said, Queen Thais and her organization. You know, I mean, there are several others that I ran across. I've been hooking up with, trying to learn, get some lowdown, information on them. But what I wanted to say is, Koku had asked a question to Oni. They just opened up. It was a couple of years ago. They just opened up the first Afrocentric curriculum school in Kenya. It's in Kenya. They just opened it. It's been in operation about 2 or 3 years. It is an Afrocentric school where they teach, African culture and everything. Not that mainstream, culture that they get, educational system that they get from England. They teach Afrocentric culture, African-centered culture, and also they engage. They teach the children about nature, about the environment, about growing gardens and stuff. All of that stuff that we're talking about. And it's about his sister Nduku. I told you she's her and her husband. They like started. They like the co-producers of it, and like she's been here, over here. She's been here based in the States for a minute. Her husband is over there. They running the school, but she's been doing some things over here. But yeah, they have an Afrocentric school in Kenya, and they incorporate KWAZ and all that stuff. They do a whole lot. Excuse me. And one more, it's a brother in Ghana he's a Caribbean brother. I think he's from Jamaica. It's either he's from Jamaica or he might be from like St. Lucia somewhere. But he's a brother from the Caribbean, and he has built. And I've seen it. I've seen his video on YouTube. He was featured on Ekal Simpson and Wody Maya. He's built an African Center school in Ghana, and it's a beautiful school too, man. And they teach it's beautiful education, man. African Center education, from everything from spirituality to plants, to the environment, to all of that. They even have like computer stuff and all of the technical stuff that our children gonna need to advance in the future. They teach all of that, man. It's a brother. He's an older brother. He's probably around close to 60. But he has a beautiful school, man, that he's opened up in Ghana. It's a beautiful school. You got African teachers, brothers and sisters who are, who he's training, to carry it on even after him, man. It's a beautiful school. It's in Ghana. And the brother, he's a Caribbean brother. So yeah, we have some stuff, man. I don't know, y'all. Excuse me, y'all. I'm sorry.
It's all right, Anthony. Feel better as well. Peace to Frenchie.
Frenchie, could you come on? Could you click the link? Yeah, sorry, Koku. Frenchie, could you click the link and come on and say a few words based off of what you heard so far, sister? Just a few words, because we're about to close out.
Appreciate that, Buana. Yeah, Frenchie dropped a comment in the chat last week. So I know she was invited or introduced to us by Buana. So Frenchie, if you click the link, we're about to lock off, but if you click the link, you could join and say a few words, as Buana stated. We welcome you. Last but not least, our brother Black Steel has been patiently waiting, but I left Black Steel for last, being that he's a teacher. I wanted to get his take on it. By the way, shout out to the young sister in this video who giving them work in the post, by the way. I just want to shout that out. But Black Steel, what say you?
Well, the question is, why can't we have more of this in our community? So I will respond to that question with another question: who's going to pay for it? So a lot of people have issues with charter schools, and there's a couple of reasons why. Number one is that depending on your state, they don't really necessarily have to hire certified teachers in charter schools. They can just grab anybody who wants to teach. That's one thing. And I'm not saying that's the case with this school, but many times what happens is that they're not really regulated. So they don't have to follow state educational system, standards. So they're public schools, which mean they're supposed to take everybody, but then many charter schools, because they don't have facilities for students with disabilities, they don't really have an option for them. They're supposed to be taxpayer funded school. And what happens is that these charter schools take money from the public schools. So what happens is that certain kids whose parents are able to afford the charter school are getting a better education than the rest of the kids who are going to public school. But they can still charge for stuff. They can charge for textbooks and gym fees to cover supplies and stuff like that. So a lot of it's not a clear, why don't we have this? How are we going to afford it? And unfortunately, especially in the US, your schools go by your tax base. So if you live in an affluent community, you're going to have better schools. Unfortunately, most Black people don't live in affluent communities. So our schools don't have that tax base that you would think to have. So again, the question is, who is going to pay for this wonderful facility that has agriculture and art and learning, and they teach you to play the violin, and they got judo lessons, and all of this, teach you how to play the drum. That's great, but then you have the issue, like I was saying, who's gonna pay for all of this? Most people are going to be able to afford a home or a school like this in an impoverished community. I think all of these things are great. I'm not saying these things are bad things. I just really want to address the question, which is why we can't have these in our communities, because they're expensive. And I think the cost of it is going to be borne. I mean, many times in charter schools, there's usually a wealthy benefactor. Like for example, LeBron James has his school, but LeBron James is wealthy. He's a rich man. He can afford to, pay for a school. Hell, look at Kanye open a charter school. We see how that went. But was Kanye hiring certified teachers? Was he hiring people who even had a college degree? So I just think that these schools are great, but I think that it does siphon money away from the public schools. And I think a lot of people, because our public schools are in such disrepair, you have issues with many schools don't have air conditioning, or you don't have heating. Dealing with rats. I remember we had a rat in culinary one time. It was crazy. But I think that's why. It's just these schools are great, but they're not cheap, and we have to see who's gonna carry that cost for those schools. So I'll leave it there. Thanks.
I'd like to say something.
So Black Steel. Yeah, go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Bonnie. You go first. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Bonnie.
No, yeah, I have a question. So in looking at the school right now, because it's interesting to get a teacher's perspective. So in looking at the school right now, basically the parents who were able to facilitate this kind of school, these are wealthier Black American people, more professional Black American people making 6 figures a year. They're able to facilitate a school like this, or they would have had like a wealthy benefactor, like what you would have said just now. How do you see the school itself? How is this done? Yeah.
I definitely think there's some money behind this. I would want to know where the school is. Like, is it in because if it's somewhere like in Prince George's County, Maryland, which is the wealthiest group of Black people in the United States live in that zip code. Someplace Atlanta, some more affluent areas. I think there's definitely some money behind this. And a lot of times for these charter schools, you got to audition. You have to actually go, or there's a lottery that you can win to get into, because they don't have space for everybody. So a lot of kids are going to be left out. Only a few are going to have access to this. So yeah, I definitely think that some money is behind this.
Anthony, I think you want to ask a question. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, okay. I was just gonna say, okay. It's always like the old folks say. It's always another way to skin a cat. Okay, we don't necessarily. Oh, in the first place, let's say one thing. Okay, we talking about charter school. Okay, I get it about charter schools. I get it about that. You know, I was just when I made an example about an African-centered charter school in Atlanta. You know, I also said, believe it or not, a charter school, which I couldn't believe. But they have several African-centered charter schools there in the Atlanta area. But what I'm saying is this. Okay, the public school system anyway is really the public food system anyway. You know what I'm saying? It's what it is. I mean, it's really one of the main things that's brainwashing our black children right now. So what I'm saying is this. Being that there is more than one way to skin a cat, we got brilliant educators like Black Steel, like Koku, and like other brothers and sisters who are educators. We got an institution called a Black Church. You know what I'm saying? And on the weekends, like they had them Saturday schools in the UK, on the weekends, we could volunteer some of our time and make time and volunteer some of our time. Hey, bring our children to the churches. We got churches everywhere. Let's bring our children to the churches and let's teach them something right there. Queen Thais, you know, she do. I mean, she don't go get funding from nobody. Not the white folks. She get it from the community, if anything. Brother Mawalimo Baruti, the same thing. He don't get no funding. What I'm saying, we could do it ourselves. We don't have to have a grandiose idea like Brother Umar, where I'm gonna go and build a school and knowing that it's gonna cost this money and where I'm gonna get the funding from. We could be like Cape Mod or whatever. Hey, we could do school in our house, in our houses. You know what I'm saying? On the weekend or after school, and provide that supplementary education, that education that our black children need. Because you know, like you and Koku read, you know, the public school system can't educate our children anyway. I mean, the education that they're giving is foolery anyway. It's up to us. Only we can educate our people. Man, I'm sorry, y'all. Only we can educate our damn children. You know what I'm saying? And there's many ways we can do it. Like I say, we can go to the churches. We got all kind of organizations. We throw 4th of July picnics and everything in parks all across our community. Hey, let's put some of that foolishness out the way. And on a Saturday or Sunday, whatever, bring our children out and let's talk to them. And let's educate them ourselves. It don't necessarily have to be, well, who's gonna fund it? I'm not jamming at nobody. But I'm just saying that could be for free. Hey, back in the 60s, they had what? They had community universities. We can have community universities now. I mean, if our children in the future, we got to treat it like that. We got to treat them like they're the future. You know what I'm saying? And we got to get out there and do it. You know, we got to educate. We got plenty of teachers. You know what I'm saying? And we just got to get out there and do it ourselves. Hey, let me set a little bit of my time aside and go out. Even if you start just teaching your children at home. I'm getting Mika, my sister-in-law. She started to think about it now. She getting serious on her mind. Man, I'm gonna start teaching my children at home. All of us need to do that. To teach number one, it's more safer. We ain't got to worry about our children getting shot or no bullshit popping off. You know what I'm saying? But we need to educate our own children. Even if, for a few hours, whatever, you know, teach them the stuff that we know that they need to know to help them to survive as African children, as African people. We can do it ourselves, man. It don't always take a lot of money. It damn sure don't take no government money, because you somebody getting money from the government, then you still gonna be doing what you're already doing. You know, teaching their curriculum. We want to teach our curriculum. So I let it off right there. I know we for time, man. This cold killing me. I'm sorry, y'all.
Nah, no problem whatsoever. If there's no last thoughts, I'll just read a couple of things from the chat. The matron says they also didn't mention math and science. That was interesting to me as well. Real Black Gentleman said we almost need to bring back the schoolmaster generals. Okay. Joe said it was a full agreement with Anthony saying preach. Word. So Frenchie didn't make it up tonight. She didn't know much about the topic that we were discussing. I'm not sure where Frenchie is in the world, but I'm sure there's something to be said about that part of the world, but it's okay. Real Black Gentleman said he never got
she's in the UK. She's in the UK, Koku. She's a Cameroonian. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Real Black Gentleman said he never got judo lessons in charter school. So that's all the topics for tonight. Appreciate all of you who joined in tonight. I'm sorry about some of the technical difficulties, but I was able to work around it and get 5 topics out there for us to discuss. Trigger Happy made this comment. I'll read it. He said, wealth seems to be the theme of this stream tonight, but that's why ideology becomes important, because many with wealth will hoard it at the disadvantage of others. And that's something for us to think about as well. There's things we can do, man. We could do things on a small level, be it a small home, be it a small school, you know, what have you. And we just got to go out there and do it. We can't be held back by whataboutism. And I think that's a lot of what we do. Before we leave the panel tonight and the chat, I'd like to get a positive shout out. I know my shout out is to Oni, but let's get some positive shout outs before we leave. Let me start with Anthony because he doesn't feel well. Anthony, what's your positive shout out for this week?
Man, my positive shout out is just being for being able to be on the show tonight, man. I didn't know if I was gonna make it because I was kind of bad for a minute, but I'm good, man. I'm glad to be here with the brothers. I'm glad to impart some of what I know, and I'm glad to learn from y'all what I can learn from y'all. And I mean, I just love it, man. I love coming on the program. I hope I'm always welcome. And I just want to say just one thing, Koku. Did you I was kind of messing with you a little bit. I sent you that little video from Prime Minister Linda Taylor. Did you get it?
No, I didn't get it yet. I'll check it right after the show's done.
Yeah, I sent it on. He actually was talking some good stuff too, man. But yeah, check it out when you get a chance to. Hey man, and peace to all the brothers, man. Peace to all the brothers.
Yeah. Peace to you too, and feel better. Let me hear from Oni next. Oni, what would you like to shout out?
Well, I'll shout out you guys, obviously, because really great program as usual. I was kind of jelly I couldn't make it the last programs, but it's not like but I'm glad I could come through. But also, I'm gonna shout out my lady. I can't cap. She came through with this internet. For some reason, I was trying to get this socialist, some socialist internet. I guess the government brand internet. They was taking 9 damn months or some shit, and they was just, well, don't worry, man, it's gonna be soon. And then she came along and said, look, if you just pay, I think it was like $10 more, you get internet next week. And so, yeah, I paid $10 more a month, but I got internet, and it's not bad. It's not like I was glitching as much as I expected. So, yeah, I'll shout out the lady. I'll shout out the missus. But also you guys, so it is what it is. But that's it. Thanks.
Appreciate that, Oni. It's good to know you got the internet. I saw you did a show earlier today. I didn't get to catch it yet. I'll check it out tomorrow. But make sure you guys are tuned in to Oni, the Pro Black Perspective, here on YouTube as well. With that said, let me hear from Black Steel. Black Steel, what would you like to shout out this week?
I want to shout out my neighbors. So as you guys probably know, there was a bad storm that hit my neighborhood. There was some flooding. I was okay, but now there's another storm I think it's called Mitch or something like that. I don't know. But it's another storm headed this way, and we're just recovering from the last one. But there's another storm out there in the Gulf of Mexico that's probably heading this way too. So it's forecasted to be at least a Category 3 when it hits, but it definitely does have the entire state of Florida in its sight. So I just want to give a shout out to my neighbors who, they really endured a lot recently. FEMA's out here that they set up at the local park not too long ago, trying to help people recover from the storm. But yeah, man, we're resilient people, and I think we're gonna make it through. But just gotta button down for another storm. All these storms are coming back to back. It's really, I mean, between the storms coming, between potential for a nuclear war over there in the Middle East. I don't know. My grandma might have been Might have been on to something. We talk about living the last days. But shout out to my neighbors.
Appreciate that, Black Steel. Yeah, be safe out there. That's one thing with America, just real quick. You can't really avoid stuff in America. Either you're going to be around tornadoes, wildfires, extreme, cold weather, or hurricanes. You're going to be around something. And Trigger Happy put it in the chat. He said, yeah, climate change is real. We got to stop dancing around that. Last but not least is Buana. Buana, what would you like to shout out this week?
Yes. So first, let me say that Anthony, I hope you get better soon, brother. There is something called Cersei. Cersei, CERASEE. You could probably get it in a tea form. Look in the tea section, at Walmart, and I want you to get something called Cersei, and I want you to drink that as a tea next week for the whole week. Drink that as a tea for next week, and hopefully that'll clear up a lot of the phlegm that's going on in your throat. So look up this thing called Cersei, CERASEE. Look it up in Walmart or something like that.
I got you.
Right?
I got you.
Yes, sir. So Black Steel. My brothers in South Carolina, they get hit. Well, North Carolina get hit hard. So our thoughts are with you in South Florida, because we know you all dealing with the hurricanes. Hopefully this hurricane miss us too, because it usually comes to us before it gets to you all. But hopefully that we miss this hurricane, and hopefully you all miss it too and go somewhere else. But I hope you're safe, and I hope your family is good as well. I hope you're living well. Another thing too is, Oni, congratulations to you again, brother. I know that you will do the right thing in Tanzania. I know you'll be a great man in Tanzania. You're just scoping out things, and I know you're in the so-called third world now, so things don't function like how it's functioning in the so-called first world. But I know you will figure it out. You're a brilliant brother, and you will figure it out, bro. Lastly, for Frenchie, the only thing I have to say is, j'espère que vous venir la prochaine fois. Come, make sure come next time, and add to the conversation so we could build. And because you are a brilliant sister, and I think that you do have something to contribute to the brothers on the panel. So hopefully you come on next time earlier. We usually come on at 8 p.m. and we go until 11. So hopefully you come on and give us a lot of your opinions and ideas in terms of what's happening in the African and the Black world. But I'll leave it there, Koku.
All right. Trigger Happy 262 Plus says he just got a notification that the oldest person in Mali is 112. So that's pretty good. Frenchie says absolutely. Yeah, that's the show for tonight. We should be back next week, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You guys, I want you guys to all be good. Anthony, you want to add something? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say congratulations to Oni, and we're going to be praying for you, Black Steel, you and all your people, man.
Absolutely. So I'll see you guys next week. You guys in the chat, be good. If you're listening to the playback, drop some comments. We kind of don't get a lot of comments after the show, but it'll be great to get some comments. Drop some comments. And until next time, you guys be good. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.